Our top story this hour, Sandy police are asking for the public's help in a hit-and-run that sent a mother and daughter to the hospital on Saturday. The pair was walking along the shoulder of 17th East, approaching 114th South when they were hit from behind. Police are asking people in the area to check their doorbell cameras for information. A newly proposed passenger Amtrak route to connect major cities across the western U.S. has some stops in Utah. But an Amtrak rep says it's just an idea with no major plans in the works. UDOT says it could be a future possibility. Our top national story this hour, we're getting more details about Alexei Navalny's funeral.
Alexei Navalny's team have announced the opposition leader's funeral will take place on Friday at a church in a suburb of Moscow. The funeral will begin at 2 p.m. local. They say he will be buried at the Borisova Cemetery in Moscow 2 hours later. The church is a public area, and it's likely large numbers of people may try to come and pay their respects. Navalny's wife, in a speech on Wednesday, said she does not know if police will allow Navalny's funeral to take place peacefully. Inez Delaquatera, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is off 58 points. That's a little more than 0.1%. We're at 38,913. Coming up, we're going to get some sun today with clear skies. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
On March 5th at 7 p.m., something extraordinary is happening in Utah. The Utah Republican Caucus. It's not just a meeting. It's a gathering of neighbors, friends, and like-minded people, united in the pursuit of a stronger state and nation. Come discuss the principles that Utah has and needs. Elect delegates that reflect the heartbeat of our communities. You'll help rescue our nation's future by voting for your preferred Republican presidential candidate. Registered Republicans, show up, be heard. Visit utgop.org to find your local caucus. Paid for by the Utah Republican Party.
I've always said you can make progress or you can make excuses, but you cannot do both. So no more excuses. I know when it comes to weight loss, you have all kinds of excuses. I'm too busy. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start next week after the holiday. Excuses or progress? What do you want? When I decided I was sick of the excuses and ready to make progress on my health and wellness, I turned to SOTA Weight Loss. SOTA, it stands for state-of-the-art because it is state-of-the-art weight loss. You don't have to do it alone. You have someone who can help you every step of the way, deal with your emotional eating challenges, help you make sure you're getting the right fuel into your body so you have health, energy, and vitality. As I've said many times, I lost 37 pounds in under 90 days. I'm 2 years in, and no more excuses, just results. When it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. Start winning today at SOTA Weight Loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
It's complicated. These days, that's how people even describe their relationship status. When it comes to the latest complexities in your car, it's gotten really complicated. The experts at AAMCO undergo the most rigorous training to stay on top of the latest car technologies, so there's nothing we can't fix. Well, except for that complicated relationship. When it comes to that, you're on your own. AA, MCO. Check engine light on? We'll check it for free.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, our biggest delays right now are right in the middle of the Salt Lake Valley. It's southbound I-15 between 5300 South and Murray down to 7200 South in Midvale. It's due to a crash that had been blocking the right lane and shoulder. Now everything's moved over to the right shoulder, but traffic taking some time to get back up to speed. Then if you continue southbound into Utah County, there's a car over on the right shoulder right at the point of the mountain as you enter Utah County. We had about 6 emergency vehicles on scene blocking the right lane there, but all the emergency vehicles are now gone, so just use caution and stay to your left. The 9th Annual Salt Lake Off-Road and Outdoor Expo, March 1st and 2nd at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Over $40,000 in giveaway prizes. Kids 12 and under free. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The end of the week will warm up a little with highs in the upper 40s today, 50s tomorrow. Partly sunny today and tomorrow. Right now it's 30 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We have a Republican presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, in Salt Lake City today. She is here, going to make her way eventually to a rally at Utah Valley University this afternoon in Utah County, of course. We will be covering that. My co-host Dave Noriega speaking to her along with the editorial board here in the next little while at Broadcast House. He's going to be sitting in on a meeting. We're going to be asking her some questions. And he specifically wanted to know why her message is not resonating. That if you follow the polls, Haley clearly is a guaranteed win over Biden. Latest polls showing that she could beat President Biden in a head-to-head hypothetical race in November by 16 points. Yet she heads to Utah the night after yet another loss in the primary to former President Trump.
Let's just keep going and running through the tape as much as we can.
She's on the run right now. She's not giving in. She's not giving up. I'm looking forward to hearing in just a few minutes what Dave finds out when he asks her the questions. If you can squeeze some in, I'm sure that's going to be a very busy editorial board meeting today. Now on to the drama about Salt Lake City's billion-dollar ballpark. Normally we have the launch, but with Dave gone, we decided to skip the launch this morning. The launch brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union every other day when we do the launch, but we're going to skip over that right now for the billion-dollar ballpark situation.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
There's been some major changes in how this ballpark funding is going to shake out. It happened yesterday with some drama on Utah's Capitol Hill. Of course, if you were listening yesterday, you know Dave and I were camped out in the ballpark community, which is on the west side of Salt Lake City. North Temple, kind of close to Redwood Road. We were broadcasting live all morning long from the Utah State Fair Park, which will be part of this new development. And we've been hearing for several days now. Remember, this legislation it's very last minute. It came out last week. Lawmakers tapping taxpayers to help fund this billion-dollar plan to build a ballpark on the west side, which we would own. So we would be proud owners of a new Major League Baseball stadium on the west side of Salt Lake City. And we were told that tourists were going to pick up the tab, mainly because of this hotel room tax that was going to be increased. It was going to be up just a little bit, about $1.50 for every $100 tourists from out of state drop when they come to town on a hotel room. But then yesterday afternoon on the House floor, St. George Representative Walt Brooks calls out Republican lawmakers for telling us this story, that tourists are going to pick up the tab mainly for the ballpark. You know, because it's tourists who use our hotel room. Well, he's on the House floor and he says, that's not the whole story. Let's talk about Utahns who come to my neck of the woods and stay in St. George.
About half of our visitors that stay in hotels are you from Salt Lake that come down to St. George. And I could not vote for a bill that's going to increase taxes statewide for this support, this issue.
I mean, Amy Coe Kobe, it's kind of a gotcha moment there on the House floor when Representative Brooks is like, hey, it's 50% of the hotel stays in the St. George area are from folks from the Wasatch Front who are going down there for, baseball tournaments, for softball tournaments, to tour Zion National Park, to hike in the area. So eventually what ends up happening, and you were covering this very thoroughly yesterday for us here at KSL News Radio, is they throw out the plan to up the hotel room tax. And what did they come up with?
They completely throw it out, Debbie. And instead what they're doing is, so any sales tax that already exists in this Fair Park neighborhood, they're going to basically earmark that, keep it separate from going into just the general fund. They're going to use that back into investing in this ballpark. It's going to be a lot less money, though. There's an estimate yesterday from Senate President Stuart Adams that we're now losing out maybe $300 million. They were trying to get $900 million with the taxes earlier. Now he said we'll get at least $600 million with this current plan without those hotel taxes included.
Well, yikes. How are we going to afford to build $1 billion ballpark with taxpayer money if we're $300,000 or $400,000 short, Amy?
What it sounded like yesterday on the House was they wanted to take this step without really figuring out maybe all of the details. But the Representative Ryan Wilcox, in introducing this and talking about it, said this is an opportunity we have to take now. And Adams, even in Senate media availability, kind of echoed that, saying, we will study maybe the hotel tax in the future. We'll look at what that impact could be and if we should do that. But it's going to be a study now instead of just jumping right in. So I don't know if they even know how much they need to build this ballpark. They're just saying, well, we'll need maybe this much. Let's at least get started. And if we get that ballpark, then we have that money in place.
Amy Kobe of KSL News Radio, of course, you hear her every day. She's covering this story very closely, tracking it for us on Capitol Hill, the developments on the $1 billion ballpark, which now may have just shrunk because of the shifting of how they're going to do the taxing on that to more of like a $700 million funding package until lawmakers can get back to the drawing board and figure things out. And I just want to add my 2 cents here. This is what happens when lawmakers wait to the last minute to shove a $1 billion taxpayer-funded ballpark down our throats, quite frankly, in the final hours, days leading up to the last day of the legislative session. And Amy, before I let you go, I also want to point out that part of the old funding package, old being last week's funding package, is this rural search and rescue funding that would have gone to rural communities. Well, they have to dump that out of the package as well. Here's what one lawmaker says.
We'll continue to have that conversation to make sure that you're not left out, that rural Utah's needs are going to be met when it comes to emergency medical services, because that part was carved out with this substitute.
So I always felt like the selling point for the rural communities to get on board, Amy, with this hotel tax increase was this component where they were going to get extra funding to help with their search and rescue teams, because they get tapped out. A lot of people go on the trails in the backcountry, they get lost, and then we expect these volunteer search and rescuers to go out and find them and pay for helicopters and all this. The sheriff's office have to pick up the tab. But that got bounced out of the bill too.
Yeah, so it was just a complete gut of anything relating to that hotel tax, completely gone. And so we might see something like that come back. I know reporting in southern Utah for years that, they have just a lot of money that goes to rescuing people from Utah and from out of town. And that's something we're footing the bill for in those small kind of sheriff's office. Sometimes they're trying to raise money to do that. I know I donated money one time to that effort because they just don't have enough. So, that's something that lawmakers say they're going to come back to. They might have to be held to that from those rural communities and say, hey, we were promised this. We'll have to see maybe in future sessions if that comes up.
Amy, thank you so much for your coverage. We appreciate you letting us know the details on the latest effort to get this Major League Ballpark funded. And straight ahead, we're going to have the chief sponsor of this taxpayer-funded pitch up on Capitol Hill calling the show, Representative Ryan Wilcox. He joined us last week on the show when his plan was unveiled, and now he finds himself in a pickle. I want to ask him this question. Does he have any regrets about unveiling this plan in the final days leading up to the end of the 2024 legislative session? Let's just ask him that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins, and few have met the rigorous certification by Kia, Dodge, Infiniti, Chrysler, Jeep, Nissan, Hyundai, and many others. But it's one more reason that Martins is your right choice. Check online at martinscollision.com. On State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
For the right repair and the right paint, the right choice is manufacturer-certified Martins Collision Repair. Hi, I'm Tiago Martins. Many shops have ASC and ICAR certified technicians, but few have certifications by General Motors, Nissan, Chrysler, Hyundai, Jeep, and many others, making Martins your right choice. Online at martinscollision.com, on State Street in Orem and in Salem, we work with all insurance companies.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martins Collision Repair.
Every single show on KSL News Radio is part of the KSL app, so you can listen when you want. News with Tim and Amanda when you get up? Hit live on the app. Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1? They're on the app. Plus, you can podcast them for work. And Jeff Kaplan? Yeah, he's there on the app. The movie show, KSL Greenhouse, latest traffic report? They're all on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
At this time of year, isn't it great to have something to look forward to? There's something about January and February. You've just got to have that thing on the calendar you're so looking forward to. Might I recommend dinner at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse? Let's talk about Hotel Park City. That's where you're going to find Ruth's Chris Steakhouse up in Summit County. After a day of skiing, it is the perfect way to wrap up that perfect day at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And then, of course, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, we have a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse here as well, right in the middle of all the action. So whether it's a play, a ball game, whatever it might be, be that delicious dinner. It's waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Plus, it's only fair to remind you that Valentine's Day now is just around the corner, and your sweetheart is going to love that amazing meal. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, 275 Southwest Temple, and also Hotel Park City. The meal you're waiting for, it's waiting for you at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Nikki Haley will speak at UVU around 12:30 today on her campaign trail. Second, the body of a 70-year-old woman from Brigham City was discovered in a creek, and police are investigating how she got there. Third, President Biden's son Hunter Biden will testify before a closed-door session of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committee today. Right now, it's sunny and 30 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We got to take some time and sort some things out with this Major League Ballpark on the west side of Salt Lake City. Of course, Dave and I spent our entire show in that community yesterday. It was so good to take the show on the road and be in the place where this ballpark will be built or is expected to be built for 3 hours yesterday. We got a chance to drive around the community and check out, some of the businesses in the area and see what's been going on there. And it's gone downhill in a lot of those neighborhoods. And the pitch is that this could revitalize this area. And we've been told for days that tourists would pay for this MLB ballpark through a statewide increase in the hotel room tax. Pay a little bit more for your hotel room stay, and Salt Lake City gets a Major League Baseball park and a ball team eventually. That's a good point. We don't have a ball team yet. President of the Senate, Stuart Adams, was live just a couple of days ago with Tim and Amanda on Utah's Morning News, and this is what he said.
Again, most of that will be paid for by those that are bringing them in, by the private businesses, by the private entities. But we do have some tax money that we're putting toward that. But all that will be pretty much paid by out-of-state residents because they'll actually be on hotel fees or car rental fees. And I think so we're actually making those from out-of-state help fund those ballparks.
Well, during debate yesterday over this bill, which, by the way, Amy Kobabe just reported got completely gutted, the hotel room tax is taken out of it. Well, Representative Walt Brooks speaks during debate on the House floor and says, whoa, wait a minute. It's not all out-of-state tourists that are going to be picking up the tab with this hotel room tax. He adds this layer to the conversation.
About half of our visitors that stay in hotels are you from Salt Lake that come down to St. George. And I could not vote for a bill that's going to increase taxes statewide for this issue.
Representative Ryan Wilcox, you're the chief sponsor of this legislation. Thanks so much for joining us once again to walk us through it. But I have to ask you, first and foremost, I feel like we were being told one thing, and then Representative Walt Brooks stands up. He represents the St. George area and says, hold on a second. Half of our hotel rooms are, taken by residents on the Wasatch Front. So their Utah residents would ultimately be paying a good bulk of those hotel room taxes. Where was that story in this original pitch?
Well, he's talking about two different things. By the way, good to talk to you.
Thank you.
His comments, obviously, yesterday, and he said that in his statement, he's talking about St. George area.
Right.
And I haven't looked at those numbers for every specific part of the state, but actually the numbers that we got from the Gardner Policy Institute the night before last, Natalie Gochner over there, it's actually closer to 75-25 statewide. It's not 50. So it's not 60-40, which is what we had talked about previously. It's closer to 75-25.
So you're saying 25%.
Because, of course, we took that out.
So, right, but you're saying 25% of Utahns occupy Utah hotel rooms. Is that, am I understanding that properly?
Yeah, that's closer to the accurate number statewide, not just a localized one particular area.
But you got that. Why?
We pulled that out because we had some deeper conversations about what the impact might be. We wanted to make sure we understood that. And if you've been following this conversation, you've known that a big part of that for us was being able to open up that section of code to address rural search and rescue, EMS services across the state. That was really an important part. And frankly, that's one of those where the Wasatch Front in particular and out-of-state visitors really put a strain on a lot of our rural counties who are left with the bill to take care of all of those of us that like to visit and frankly get lost and leave a mess sometimes. So that was the part of that was hardest to give up. Frankly, we've been looking for a mechanism to do that for 4 or 5 years. We did get an agreement with the Senate that they would help us to address that issue in the interim, that we will look at the TRT, whether or not that's being spent the way it needs to be, whether or not there's a statewide benefit for how it's currently being appropriated. But we are going to continue that conversation. The conversation about what we replace that with was something that we could all agree on. We did have the votes the other day on the original bill. I'll just say that up front. But we also felt like we wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with what we were doing. And so that's where we ended up with giving up the state portion of the sales tax in the new district, which right now generates nothing.
Okay.
So this would be only from the growth from the private investor that's our partner in this.
Okay, so this is where I've got a couple of questions about this. First, I want to start with do you regret waiting until basically the final week of the legislative session to announce this bill and get this pushed through? Is this a fair way to do this for taxpayers?
Yeah, this is literally how Utah operates every year, and that's not in a derogatory sense. We've been talking about this bill publicly for a year about this project. We've had town halls all around the state, including in St. George. We've had open conversations, several more media interviews on this topic, and frankly, many of them much more important conversations that we've had. That's largely been driven by these kind of conversations. So no, it wasn't not only not dropped at the last minute, those negotiations were ongoing. And once we felt like it was ready to, move into the committee phase, then that's where that went. But certainly there's been plenty of conversation around the topic.
Do you think there was enough time for public comment once it came out in its final version, though, yesterday? The final version now is
literally. Yeah, we are always taking public comment. We've had, like I said, town halls around the state. We've had open conversations. We announced this through the front door. This was not anything like that. Of course, every single bill at the end of the session goes through an opportunity for revision and negotiation. That is how that process works. And of course, the public comment that we've heard, in fact, we even took this one to a committee yesterday afternoon. That wasn't required, but just to make sure that we had it for public comment in the Senate, right? This was an opportunity to have that conversation specifically for that purpose. But of course, we are always listening. We are always having those conversations when we need to.
Representative, now this final version, when you talk about this sales tax in the district, what does that look like?
Sure.
Is there an increase in the sales tax in the Fair Park area?
No.
Okay.
Not
explain. Go ahead and explain.
This is literally just in the district. In other words, an area that is not producing any sales tax right now. It's an industrial zone right now. That will be used to hopefully it will generate enough sales tax for us to do this. But that's the plan, is that we'll invest in that area, meaning the partner will, the private investor will, and then the revenue that we pick up from the sales that are generated in an area that is currently not generating revenue, that's what we'll use to fund the project.
And I envision the hope would be that in this district would be retail and new restaurants that would also help generate this sales tax. Correct?
That's correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of development in that area is the vision that will help generate the sales tax. And how much could it generate? What is the estimate on that?
I think estimates are, upwards of $30 million a year from that. That's possible. We don't know exactly what that'll look like because we're talking about, our economists' best projections right now, what we would expect to happen. But we're talking about an area that has been blighted for decades, an area that has been neglected for decades, an environmental remediation project along the Jordan River that has been a problem for decades. You would have seen I think you probably ran a story on KSL about the cartel raid. It was conducted on Monday down there by Salt Lake City and UHP. You would have seen, I think, 50-something arrests, over 1,000 fentanyl pills that were collected over there, and in addition to cocaine and a bunch of other things. That area, that community has been neglected for far too long. This gives us an opportunity to start the rehabilitation and the environmental remediation from an industrial site, but also to help that community, to help lift that community, make sure that it's safe going forward and prepare it so that we have a shot at Major League Baseball. Right. Remember, even the tax that you're talking about right now doesn't go into effect unless we get the team.
All right. We'll let you get back to work on Capitol Hill. Representative Ryan Wilcox, I appreciate you walking us through it, taking my questions, and giving us some answers. They think Utahns deserve. I mean, we're putting a lot of money and a lot of effort into bringing a Major League Baseball team to Utah. This doesn't even I haven't even mentioned yet the NHL arena. We're going to mention that later in the show. Also, in the next few minutes, speaking to a tax expert as well about what his thoughts are on this taxing, how these taxes will be collected. Just saw Dave Noriega in the hallway. That means he is wrapped up talking to Nikki Haley, presidential candidate in town today in Salt Lake City, heading to Utah Valley University, fresh off of yet another primary loss to former President Trump, but she is not backing down.
Let's just keep going and running through the tape as much as we can.
9:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, UDOT is announcing some updates to their Kimball Junction project in Park City. KSL News Radio's Alessandra Gurr reports.
Over the last several months, UDOT has worked to narrow down 30 proposed ideas into just 2 alternative plans to reduce traffic at Kimball Junction. They did this by tracking traffic data and evaluating public feedback. Their 2 ideas include building a split diamond interchange or adding double turn lanes and pedestrian safety improvements. They released their full report this week and are asking for the public's comments, which can be submitted at the Kimball Junction UDOT website.
The 2 alternative plans now move on for more study. A new bill would allow builders to select their own inspectors instead of waiting on city inspectors. Supporters of the bill say this method would reduce costs, but opponents say it creates a conflict of interest at the expense of public safety. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments on the rule banning bump stocks. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports.
The devices allow shooters to fire off multiple rounds from a semi-automatic weapon with a single pull of the trigger. After the nation's deadliest mass shooting, in which a bump stock was used to kill dozens and injure hundreds in Las Vegas, the ATF issued a rule to ban the devices by classifying them as machine guns. Now the High Court will decide whether the agency had the power to do that without congressional action. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
The Dow is off about 0.25%. We're down 94 points to 38,877. And coming up, a beautiful sunny day in store for us, and we're in a warming trend. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:33. You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory, but President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
We have an emergency traffic situation. Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. What's going on, Heather?
We have a crash southbound I-15 right at the point of the mountain. All lanes of travel have been blocked for about 15 minutes while they move some of the vehicles over to the right side of the freeway. Then crews had to sweep up a bunch of debris. Now, they just let all the lanes go just about 3 minutes ago, but traffic is at a standstill and backed up almost to Bangerter Highway. So it's going to take you at least 10 extra minutes to get into Utah County. Now, if you're northbound I-15 coming out of Utah County, you're also going to have extreme delays from Draper into Sandy. This is due to a multi-vehicle crash right at 90th South. It had been blocking 2 left lanes. Now it's just blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder, but crews are still trying to clean that one up as well. Big O Tires is your one-stop shop for tires and service. Now through March 17th, buy 3, get 1 free on select sets of tires. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
The end of the week will warm up a little with highs in the 40s today, upper 50s tomorrow and Friday. Right now, it is fair and 30 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, not only is U.S. presidential candidate Nikki Haley in Utah today to rally or to head down to Utah Valley University for a rally, she also just wrapped up a conversation with our editorial board here, and Dave Noriega was there.
Yeah. That's why I missed the first 30 minutes. I wasn't late to work. I was meeting with Nikki Haley.
So I'm excited to hear what she had to say and the questions that you were able to squeeze in. She is heading to Utah. She's in Utah today, fresh off of another loss. Another primary loss. It is her 5th loss, this one in Michigan, losing once again to former President Trump.
Let's just keep going and running through the tape as much as we can.
Did you get that sense from her that she is still on the path, Dave?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that was the first question, is you've now been through 5 primaries. Every single one was a decisive victory for Trump. Decisive. Even best performance in New Hampshire was still double digits. So the question was, why stay in it? And she said, you're focusing on the wrong number. It's very easy to look that Trump beat me 60-40 here or 70-30 there, 70-30. She said, but what you're not looking at is the 30 to 40% of Republican voters in a primary that are choosing someone else. That's the number that should concern you.
They don't want Trump.
Republicans that don't want Trump. Mm-hmm. It's one thing if those are the numbers in a general election, and that's where she kept going back to, is saying he is not capable of winning a general election because so many Republicans are saying no specifically to Trump. He has his base. He has the diehards that will never leave him. But what do you do with that 30 or 40% of Republicans that are searching for somebody else?
Dave was in an editorial board meeting with Nikki Haley, Republican candidate for the White House, lost again last night to President Trump in Michigan. She's lost in Nevada. She's lost in Iowa. She's lost in her home state where she was governor of South Carolina. She's lost in New Hampshire. Super Tuesday in Utah, around many other states around the nation, is March 5th. So that's coming up really, really quickly. I'm curious what she had to say, Dave, in terms of the question that you said you wanted to ask her, is why her message isn't resonating when clearly in a head-to-head hypothetical in the general election, she beats Biden. The latest poll I saw was by 16 points. She trounces him.
Yeah, and we wanted to know, this really was at the crux, what is not resonating with Republicans? Because if you look at it logically and say, okay, if the ultimate goal is to win the White House, it's not to win a primary in the spring, it's to win the White House, and you have a double-digit lead head-to-head with Biden, what is happening with Republicans? And she said this, I don't judge the people you want to serve. She looked at Trump and said, I think a lot of voters saw him when he was president as someone that didn't get an ounce of peace or a moment of credit. And that this is an opportunity right now to right a wrong.
That the voters are in Trump's camp want to right a wrong. I tend to agree with that. It's kind of like when you keep losing, so under Trump, the red wave has never materialized, and all the promises that he's made that it's going to happen has never materialized. So Republicans are struggling on a lot of fronts in a lot of different, elections and election cycles. And it feels like we're going to come back and we're going to show you this time. Same team, same leader, but we're going to prove you wrong.
I think it was as accurate and as well put a peek into the mind of the Republican voter as I've heard so far. Again, she said they feel that Donald Trump has not been given an ounce of peace or a moment of credit for the things that he had done when he was in the White House.
What does she feel about, look, I want to address, I've been wanting to address this for a while. Her resume is stellar, okay? She served as a first female governor in South Carolina. Daughter of immigrants who started a small business and built it into a very successful company. She worked there as a teenager. Full respect. I worked at my family business as a teenager and even probably a little younger. No, I was probably 13 years old when I started working there. It's a lot of work in a small business. It's all hands on deck. You're building it from the ground up. If mom and dad get paid, the kids eat. I mean, if mom and dad are successful in that small business, then you get to maybe eat extra lean hamburger on a Saturday night.
You get 80-20 hamburger.
That is exactly how it is. So I have a ton of respect. She's an author. I think she's written at least 2 books that I know of. And yet she cannot get out of the starting blocks with the Republican Party. So let me address this. That's the elephant in the room. Is it because she's a woman? There's plenty of polling. We can get into that later. On will we have a female president ever in my lifetime? I'm almost 57 years old, and I wonder this, and I think, okay, come on, Republicans. Is this because she's a woman? Did she address that, Dave?
Absolutely, she did, and she had a fascinating response.
I have said this, and I truly believe it. There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris.
Wow. That was a picture.
Reading between the lines, what does she mean by that? President Biden isn't going to finish out his term after he wins the White House.
Yeah, exactly what it is. Whether he gets elected and shortly after resigns because of whatever made-up excuse or real excuse, whatever it might be, she is absolutely convinced that Joe Biden is not there. If he gets elected, he will not serve out the full 4 years. He will step down. Kamala Harris will take over. Because she doesn't see any path where Donald Trump wins the general election. So again, as she described it, there will be a female in the White House in this next election cycle. It's either going to be me, who obviously can win the White House, according to Nikki Haley, or it's going to be Kamala Harris, who takes over for Joe Biden.
Well, and if Kamala Harris becomes president, guess what? She gets to run for another term.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Republicans, you're painting yourself into a corner. You're painting yourself into a corner. Hey, she said a lot more at the editorial board meeting. Dave just, touched on a few things that fascinated him and caught his attention. We're getting all of that sound that was recorded during that editorial board meeting, a little behind-the-scenes action here, loaded into the system, and our producers and editors will be editing it, and we will put it on the air in the 10 o'clock hour, Dave.
She spoke to us for 25 minutes, and it was impressive. We've talked to a lot of politicians, smooth, concise, well-spoken, articulate. It was an impressive 25 minutes.
I'm looking forward to hearing more on this in our 10 o'clock hour, Dave. Straight ahead, we know that Utah lawmakers had to toss out the package to help fund a Major League Baseball park. Just spoke live to Representative Ryan Wilcox about how that's going to work. You'll hear more from him in just a few minutes about how this new tax package will specifically target the ballpark area where this the stadium will be built. But we're going to get our tax expert we had on the air yesterday back on the line straight ahead, because there's a huge question here. After they got rid of the hotel room tax because southern Utah and other rural communities just didn't like it, that statewide tax, there may not be enough money generated from this new tax to fund the billion-dollar ballpark.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
For John's 60th birthday, his family planned to drive down Old Route 66. But the trip took a detour when his wife got sick with RSV. It's a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems and hospitalizations.
This year, we don't want to cancel our plans. We're protecting ourselves with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine.
Abrysvo, a vaccine to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. It's not for everyone and may not protect all who receive it. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had an allergic reaction to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may decrease your response. Most common side effects are tiredness, headache, injection site pain, and muscle pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com.
So don't wait. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, because every breath matters.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com. or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, we sacrificed profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first. People always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
AA MCO.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app, and we have got 4 miles of nearly stopped traffic as you approach Bangerter Highway and head all the way over the point of the mountain. It's due to a crash, still blocking the right lane and shoulder at the point of the mountain. Northbound I-15 has 3 miles of stop-and-go traffic from 123rd South in Draper up to 90th South in Sandy. That's due to a crash blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz is officially endorsing former President Donald Trump. Second, Nikki Haley will make a campaign stop at UVU this afternoon. And third, a judge has ruled Attorney General Sean Reyes must make his calendars public and available to news outlets. Right now, it's 32 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
So Utah lawmakers certainly not throwing a perfect game not throwing a perfect proposal on this MLB stadium funding issue. Things got really messy yesterday. They took a timeout on the Hill. Then they came back. They ended up tossing out the hotel room tax, Dave, which was kind of news to you this morning.
Absolutely. And that's a problem. I mean, that's a big problem because if you're not going to fund it, if you don't have a very clear way to pay for the entire project, then they take their ball and they go home.
I just wrapped up a live interview with Representative Ryan Wilcox, who's been spearheading this funding package that's gotten a lot of pushback. So they dumped out the hotel room tax. And they, in exchange, they said that district, that area, would keep the sales tax that's generated from new retail and restaurants in that area. Here's Representative Ryan Wilcox on the air moments ago. When you talk about this sales tax in the district, what does that look like?
Sure.
Is there an increase in the sales tax in the Fair Park area?
No.
Okay, go
Not at all.
explain. Go ahead and explain.
This is literally just in the district. In other words, an area that is not producing any sales tax right now. It's an industrial zone right now. That will be used to hopefully it will generate enough sales tax for us to do this. But that's the plan, is that we'll invest in that area, meaning the partner will, the private investor will, and then the revenue that we pick up from the sales that are generated in an area that is currently not generating revenue, that's what we'll use to fund the project.
Joining us right now is Steve Young, a tax lawyer, chair of the State and Local Tax Committee of the American Bar Association. And Steve, when you saw that get stripped out, that transient room tax, and now they're admitting we might be several $100 million short on this. What do you make of it?
Very interesting for sure. I think the plan, it sounds to me, is that they're just going to wait and see how this plays out over the next, it's 2024, 2030, I think is when they have to have the team picked. And so, what's the economic growth in that district going to look like over the next 6 years? Maybe it'll be greater than anticipated, and that's sort of the hope. And if so, then it's not just the sales tax, that's the new piece they just added, but the original bill had various other taxes from the district going to fund the repayment of the bonds on the stadium for that $900 million. And that's sort of the hope that, you give this big shot of economic boost to that district, that, west side area, and that there's enough economic activity through, hotels and restaurants and sales of merchandise, let's say it's the Utah baseball team, whatever the name is, Utah Blizzards or something. Maybe that's the hockey team. I don't know what the name will be. Anyway, you sell a bunch of merchandise for that team, and that's all sold around the stadium. And then that new 4.7% sales tax, that all gets funded into this campaign to repay the bonds. And so that's sort of the hope. But, clearly some interesting dynamics at play. I didn't see the hotel tax falling off. That was sort of a strategy to tax the out-of-staters that would be coming into the state to stay in the hotels, but those in southern Utah really objected. Those in Park City, it sounds like, felt like that's not appropriate to use all those funds for the stadium. So they've gone back to now the 4.7% sales tax, which wasn't in there originally, but now all those merchandise sales, instead of just the hotel and other taxes, but all those merchandise sales around the stadium will go to help fund this now under this current proposal. So the only way this works, I think, is if that growth is so substantial and, the team comes and it all works economically to bring in enough money.
Steve Young is a partner with Holland and Hart and chair of the State and Local Tax Committee of the American Bar Association. Really appreciated him being on the show with us yesterday as we broadcast live from that ballpark community, or what will become eventually the ballpark community on the west side of Salt Lake City. And Steve, that is a big what if. I mean, it sounds like almost like a chicken and an egg scenario. We have to get a baseball team really for development to take off in that area. And so as a tax expert, is this the best way or the best way to do things in your view from that 30,000 foot up level?
Well, for better or for worse, it's sort of the economy we live in now, where these sort of public-private partnerships happen all over the country for all kinds of economic development reasons. And there's upfront costs that have to be incurred, and then there's what we call tax increment financing, where, in whatever area, let's take the Convention Center Hotel downtown, that was started in 2014, and it was a public-private partnership where in that area, the Hyatt that's now downtown, it was agreed by the state in 2014. They get a portion of those taxes back over the next 25 years to help fund that. And now it's come to fruition. The hotel's been built. And in order to make that happen, it wasn't happening with private money alone. So there had to be a public-private partnership for that to work. And over time, that appears to have been a positive thing. It's been good for the tourism industry, the convention industry in the state. And if you look around the state, we're always competing with states in the Midwest, states on the coast, for economic activities, including a Major League Baseball team. Other cities are having this exact same conversation and trying to come up with a package that works.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse, it's just the world that we live in now, and it's a competition amongst states, and you have to put up some sort of public money often, especially in a relatively small market like Salt Lake.
Yeah, you're competing with other cities.
New York.
Exactly. You're competing with other cities. And if you don't have a good enough offer, if you don't make a good enough proposal, then they go somewhere else. Thank you, Steve.
Next, Dave has more from his conversation with presidential candidate Nikki Haley.
When you're running for president, this is about addition. It's about bringing as many people in as you can. It's not about pushing people out of your club.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is in Utah today, hoping to gain some ground ahead of Super Tuesday. Here's KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
Haley will be holding a rally at Utah Valley University starting at 12:30. We weren't given a ton of details in terms of what she'll be speaking about, but she'll be looking to swing Utah Republican voters who are still overwhelmingly backing former President Donald Trump. According to a Deseret News Hinckley Institute of Politics poll conducted last month, just about half of the registered Utah Republican voters said they would vote for former President Trump, while just 22% said they'd vote for Haley, though that was before Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race.
Utah House Speaker Mike Schultz is officially endorsing former President Donald Trump in the race for president. He says now more than ever before, the United States needs a leader who will guide us back to our core values. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Pope Francis is still recovering from some flu-like symptoms and stopping by the hospital in Rome this morning. ABC's Ines de la Cotera has more.
Pope Francis visiting a Rome hospital to undergo diagnostic tests after reporting slight flu-like symptoms with no fever, according to the Vatican. The Pope saying on Wednesday, I still have a bit of a cold, so I have asked Bishop Campanelli to read the catechesis. The Pope is 87 years old. Ines de la Cotera, ABC News. At the foreign desk.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average and the NASDAQ, both starting the day with a downtrend. And coming up, we'll be looking at weather for the next couple of days with sunshine, and then the storm moves in for the weekend. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:02. We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL 5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up. Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Emergency traffic now brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we have 5 miles of stop-and-go traffic now southbound I-15 from 123rd South and Draper all the way to the point of the mountain. It's due to a crash still blocking the right lane and shoulder, but all lanes of traffic were shut down for about 10 to 15 minutes about an hour ago when this crash first happened. So that's why you still have the delays. Now, northbounders are also at a crawl as you leave 123rd South and Draper and head up to 90th South and Sandy, also due to a multi-vehicle crash that's now blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder. So quite a bit of problems for people at the south end of the Salt Lake Valley. With fresh snow comes fresh tracks at Murdoch Hyundai. Right now, receive 0% for 3 years on the Tucson or Santa Fe. I'm Heather Kelly with traffic and KSL News Radio.
KSL weather sunny today, high of 48. The clouds build up tomorrow and Friday, but temperatures also rise towards 60. Then a cold front brings rain and snow this weekend. Right now, 32 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I have said this and I truly believe it. There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris.
Those words just uttered just not too long ago by Nikki Haley. Dave was in on the editorial board meeting with the Deseret News, KSL, spoke to Nikki Haley live in person.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, you know what? There's going to be a female president. It's one of many things that she said. It'll either be me or it'll be Kamala Harris, which is a message.
There's so much in that statement. It's very simply put, but it says so much. Number one, it's either going to be me, meaning I've got to win the primary. Donald Trump will not win a general election. That's what she's saying. So if there's any chance for a Republican to run and win, it's me. So it's either going to be me or it's going to be Kamala Harris, meaning Joe Biden would beat Donald Trump. And Joe Biden's not going to serve 4 years, another 4 years. Starting at 81 years old, he'd be 85 by the time his term is done. She's absolutely convinced that Kamala Harris would have to take over for Joe Biden for whatever reason, whether he dies in office or he resigns, he steps down, who knows?
What's a strategy? It's a strategy the Democrats could very well be using.
Absolutely.
To win the Oval Office. They've seen the numbers. The latest polls show Nikki Haley would beat Biden by 16 points and that Biden would beat Trump by, I think, 4 or 5 points right now.
There are some
that are closer
that have Trump winning
barely
as well. Yeah.
But
they're all within the margin of error. Both sides. It's a
by
coin
like a fleck
flip.
of dust. He would be. I mean, it's way. Her
Neither
chances
are guaranteed.
But her chances in polling, and if you're going to believe the polling in the primary with the Republicans, which has shown, time and time again that President Trump will, beat Haley in a primary, then you got to believe the polling the other way too. So there we are. So what else did she talk about?
There's really, in this 25-minute talk that we had with Nikki Haley, she really, really went after Donald Trump on a lot of different levels. But the question was, kind of to your point, what is it about Republicans that all the polls show, if you go head to head, Haley, Biden, you win easily. Why are they willing to take a maybe with a Trump-Biden rematch? And what do you say to the voters in these states, the primaries that have already happened, where they have chosen? They had an opportunity to choose you, but they still chose Trump. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't judge them for that, and I think that's the problem in politics, is you're not supposed to judge the people you want to serve. You're supposed to communicate what needs to happen. I think there's a couple of things. One is Republicans saw that Donald Trump didn't get an ounce of peace or a moment's credit, and they feel like he fought for them, and now they feel like they're fighting back for him. What I want to tell all of those Republicans is, you can like him all you want. I voted for Trump twice. I was proud to serve America in his administration. But the reality is, he will not win a general election.
Didn't get an ounce of peace or a moment of credit. And now it's our turn to fight for him. I think that sums up Republican voters that are supporting Trump right now as well as anything I've ever heard. They feel like they're fighting for him because he fought. So when you look at the indictments that are going on right now, and there's over 90, a lot of Republicans, a lot of voters, a lot of Utahns, over 60%, believe that all of that is politically motivated to keep Trump from running or winning the White House.
Because you can't tell me their policy positions are that different.
No.
I mean, maybe there are some things here and there, some nuances that are going to be different between the two of them, but you can't tell me that the fact that she's served as UN ambassador, the fact that she served as a governor, first female elected to governor in South Carolina, a daughter of immigrants, built business from the ground up, small business. She's got that in her DNA. So it's like, what is it about President Trump that Republicans are so hooked on or mesmerized by?
She did bring up several instances where she thinks that Trump failed. She said that Republicans are supposed to be the conservatives. We're not spending money. But then she pointed to Trump's presidency where he spent trillions and trillions of dollars, did not cut spending, gave tax cuts, but did not cut spending. And remember, when Trump was first elected, he had the White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. Nothing happened on the border. That's another thing she said, is why couldn't we get anything done on the border? Why couldn't we get anything done with spending? So, yeah, there's some similarities in their policies, of course, all conservatives.
But she pointed out the differences.
She said he's still not talking about the debt.
We're going to fight. I think so. That's why I'm running. I mean, I think that we're better than this. And I think that, America has an amazing ability to self-correct. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to know where up is. We're there. Now we just have to see if everybody's willing to go up. And honestly, it takes a lot of courage. It takes courage for people to believe that they can be part of the solution.
I do feel like there's a sense of, we'll just settle. We settle in our personal relationships. That's why the divorce rate is so high. We're settling in our politics. That's why we continue to elect and gravitate toward the same candidates over and over again. I'm curious, though, what else she had to say. What resonated with you, Dave, when you were in on that editorial board meeting with Nikki Haley this morning?
She brought up Trump's humility. And I think that's a word that I think most people would agree is not a word that often gets coupled with Donald Trump.
When you're running for president, this is about addition. It's about bringing as many people in as you can. It's not about pushing people out of your club. And that's why he won't win a general election, is because he's not humble enough to realize you need them.
She said he's not getting the independents. He's not getting any Democrats right now. Right now, he's getting hardcore Republicans, and they are propelling him to victory in these primaries.
I'm also curious what she said about, why President Trump, he's been promising this red wave, and it never materializes. It's laughable now. Folks, there's no red wave. There's no red wave coming to save you. You got to save the party if you want the White House.
That is in part what frustrates Haley, is because he has been so prominent as the figurehead of the Republican Party. And she said he's got his fingerprints on every aspect of it.
It is why Donald Trump will not win. Because if you look at all of those demographics, going back to 2016, look at how it continues to fall. And look at the races it's bringing down with it. I mean, that's the key, is you have to bring those people in. Since he lost the races in Georgia, what has he done to bring any of those people in? Nothing. He lost in 2018, he lost in 2020, he lost in 2022. But look, a couple of weeks ago, Republicans lost the vote on Israel. Republicans lost the vote on the border. The RNC chair lost her job. Donald Trump had his fingerprints on all of it.
So at what point will he be held responsible for this string of losses? That's what Nikki Haley is asking.
Nikki Haley in town today, spoke to our editorial board meeting earlier this morning. Dave was sitting in on that. Thanks so much for bringing us that recording of that conversation with her. You said she was with the editorial board for 25 minutes. There's much more still ahead because Boyd Matheson also sitting down for a conversation with Nikki Haley as well. He'll be joining us in the 11 o'clock hour with his takeaways of that conversation. And then she's heading down to Utah Valley University. What are her plans for the rest of the day, Dave?
That's the extent of it. And we were asking if, what are your plans looking forward? And she said, I am one of those people that looks at where I'm at right now in the moment. I'm not looking in the future. I'm not looking to Super Tuesday. I'm paying attention to Utah. I'm paying attention to you, the editorial board, one step at a time.
Well, that's how you make people feel like they matter.
I'll tell you.
When you're in the moment with them.
We've done a lot of interviews. We've spoken to a lot of politicians. And this was as impressive a 25 minutes as I've seen. She was articulate. She was strong. Her opinions were clear. And it was hopeful. You could tell that she's still maybe disappointed in the loss in Michigan in the previous primaries, but she's still hopeful. She thinks that Americans will eventually kind of snap out of it and realize the only chance for Republicans to win the presidency is through her.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
I've had my Connecticut water softener 7 years. Man, it's been so long. You may not realize this. They have a 10-year warranty. I've had it for 7 years. I still have 3 years to go. So if something goes wrong, if I have a problem, I know I can give them a call right away. They can walk me through. I can even move. I could go to another house. I could pack up my Connecticut water softener, take it to the new house, and they would still honor this incredible warranty. So that's how much faith they have in their product. They know it's well built. It works. You get soft water, and if there's ever a problem, they will take care of you. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your home, give Connecticut of Utah a call. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or you can check them out online. Enjoy the wonderful benefits of soft water like my family has. We love it. It keeps our skin soft. That's a big win for us. SoftwaterUtah.com is the website. That's SoftwaterUtah.com.
Our lives are full of choices these days.
Some are less important.
Look at all these shows and movies. I don't know what to watch.
But other choices are key to the way we understand the world and our place in it.
When you select KSL, listening on Alexa or in the car,
you've made the right choice.
You could choose to do nothing. You could opt out.
So thank you for engaging, for choosing this station.
KSL News Radio.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
My wife was like, I want to go to Hawaii and I want to bring the kids. And I was like, whose kids?
Jim Gaffigan, Barely Alive Tour.
I spent the entire time applying and reapplying sunscreen, which thankfully makes my skin whiter.
Jim Gaffigan, a night of all new material. Friday, October 25th at Eccles Theater. Tickets on sale Friday at jimgaffigan.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
I'm Jason Walton. In business, I mentor hundreds of Utahns as they pursue their American dream. The same dream career politicians treat with contempt. They send our money to our enemies abroad while shortchanging our veterans at home. It's not right. They're letting drug cartels escort criminals and terrorists across our border. It's time to stand up. So I'm running for the United States Senate. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app, and we still have traffic at a crawl southbound I-15 from Bangerter Highway all the way to the point of the mountain. It's due to a crash blocking the right lane and shoulder, but originally all lanes of travel had been shut down for almost 15 minutes, and that's why you still have the delays. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley visiting Utah today, hoping to swing some Republican votes away from former President Trump. Second, Utah's House Speaker has made his choice in the presidential race, and it's not Nikki Haley. And third, Pope Francis checking into a hospital in Rome again for some diagnostic tests. Right now, 32 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, don't forget, it's secret contest time. It's for our podcast listeners. It runs through the end of the month. By the way, we're in a leap year. So we got an extra day. Here's what you need to do. You need to find our podcast, The Dave and Dujanovic Show, at KSL Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And then you're going to listen for me. I'm very clear and obvious about this. I say, this is the keyword. I give you the keyword. You take the keyword. You text it to 57500, and you are entered to win a pair of AirPod Pros.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, the first headline that I read about this, I read it last night, Dave, as I was looking over headlines. I was lying in bed, TMI. But I see that surge pricing is coming to Wendy's fast food restaurants. I'm like, surge pricing? You mean the same stuff they pull with Uber and Lyft? Like when things get really busy, the prices go up and up and up and up and up. But now Wendy's is coming out, and according to CNN, has issued a statement, and they're like, oh, whoa. It's called dynamic pricing. And what we meant is, we'll be testing it, but that there's a chance that this could also mean that they will lower pricing. So they're getting these new menu signs that are digital and you can change them. Kind of reminds me of what you see at the gas station. You know, you no longer see somebody out there manually changing numbers at the gas pump anymore. It just flips automatically. So Wendy's is getting into the dynamic pricing business.
Do you want me to rock your world right now?
Please do.
Now, I haven't been eating fast food for the last month, but it hasn't been so far removed that I don't know the tricks. But did you know this is already happening?
Really?
Yeah. If you go to a McDonald's in Salt Lake or a McDonald's in Kaysville, a McDonald's in Ogden, they're not the same price.
What are you doing? Testing these? You're sending family members to each of the McDonald's restaurants at the same time?
No, I've eaten at the McDonald's in Salt Lake, Kaysville, and Ogden. Trust me,
Okay.
I know. And I order the same thing. It's never the same price. So every franchise can tweak and manipulate and change the prices. Back when they had the dollar menu, those were set, but the combo meals, the cost for the hamburgers or the chicken sandwich or the filet of fish or the McRib that should never be invented in the first place. Listen, all of that stuff is different.
But if I'm going to the same restaurant every day or every week
Yeah,
in
'cause
my
we're habitual.
neighborhood,
Yep.
I'm not going to be driving around,
Yeah.
17 different zip codes to compare, to price shop, a Big Mac.
You'll do it for gas, but not a burger.
No, but
Okay,
here's the
good.
thing: if Wendy's will, if Wendy's is going to get into surge pricing and it does not benefit me, bye. I don't want to look when you get into a drive-through line. Let's face it, you get trapped in that.
Yeah, you're
line.
in.
You're in.
Yeah.
You got the.
There's no escape hatch.
You got the SUV behind you.
Yep.
You've got 7 cars in front of you, and trucks are piling up behind the SUV, and you're not going anywhere, especially when you get between the two medians, right?
Yeah.
You're just stuck.
Yep, you're there.
So you can't dive out of it. And if I see any restaurant engaging in surge pricing, because when you just happen to be there at the right moment, I seem to always be there at the right moment when I see the prices change, like at the gas pump. I'm like, oh, I missed it by 2 cents. I might put it in a 4-wheel drive and just get
You're gonna
right
off-road
over.
it?
Yeah, I'm in on an elephant's back in Moab, man. I am over the median and I'm out of the line.
Okay, but you deal with surge pricing with Uber and Lyft.
I shop around. I flip between the apps, and so I'm not ashamed.
You try to find the best
I'm not
one,
ashamed to call up my daughter and say, Mom needs a ride. Mom needs a ride, because that ride went from $15 to $25 in the time I flipped between apps.
And I'm not doing it. And you made a decision. This is where I think dynamic pricing is going to be a very good thing. If you're going at 6 o'clock or 6:30, right in the heart of dinner and the lines are long, why not increase the price? That makes a little sense. But then you have some off hours, 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Time out.
where you have nobody in line and you are just begging for people to get in line.
Did I hear you right? You said it's okay
Yeah,
to up the price?
for sure.
Why?
Because supply and demand.
Corporate Dave here.
Yeah. No,
Supply and demand. It's not good for you, and it's not good for your kids.
But listen, when I'm desperate, if I'm going through the drive-through at 6:30, it's because I got to get calories in the kids. I do not care if it's healthy. I just need calories for the kids. So I will pay a premium because it's the busiest time. They've got to overstaff this. So I understand. I would be
I'd
fine
be
with
furious.
that.
Look, I'm all in the camp. This is probably why I will never be a CEO. I can't run a corporation because I'm in the camp of the customer. I'm in that drive-through line with y'all. And if I see surge pricing happening, we're going to protest together. I mean, it'll be a peaceful protest, but we're going to protest together. I'm going to rally everybody out, and I'm going to get us all through that drive-through line without making a purchase. I'm going to go buy everybody's dinner across the street just to prove a point. I'm not on the side of corporate America when it comes to taking advantage of busy families. I've been that mom who doesn't have any food in the fridge, who's sitting in a drive-through, and I'm already feeling defeated because I didn't plan and meal prep anything, and it was 99.9% of the time, it was my job to do it. So basically what you're doing is taking advantage of moms who already feel defeated because they haven't gotten anything together for dinner that night. And we're spinning into the taco drive-thru or the hamburger drive-thru. And now you're going to stick it to us even more. I think it's just wrong. And I don't like the message this sends. Now, remind you that Wendy's is like, oh, no, we meant that it actually could mean lower prices. It's not, yeah, we're changing the boards at the drive-thru, and we're changing the boards so we can flip between prices. But this could bring lower prices, too. So that's their statement as of today.
And this is the second element to it, why I like both sides of it. If you're extra busy and you've got to overstaff the dinner hours and you want to bring more people in and you've got to pay for that and you got to raise prices, okay, I'm fine with that. But if there's another layer to it where you are running on a skeleton staff, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon where nobody is eating, well, if you want to encourage people to come eat a little earlier and you drop it down 10, 20%, or you have a true dollar menu for those hours, that's what dynamic pricing allows you to do.
Dave, I just looked up Wendy's profits. It was more than $2 billion in 2022. It surged up 4%. They're not hurting, my friend. So look, if surge pricing does not work in this mother's favor, she's gone. I'm never coming back to that restaurant again. I don't care if I'm in the middle of nowhere and it is the only restaurant after the Mirage in the desert. Trust me, friends, I'm driving on by. We better have some old French fries that slid between the seats 7 years ago, because that's what we're munching on until we get to the next city and I can go through a drive-through line that doesn't surge price. I won't do it. I just won't do it. Phone calls? Let's do phone calls. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Would you do that? Would you pull a Debbie? Would you pull a Debbie on this one? If you saw a restaurant surge pricing when you were standing in line, or you found out they were doing this to your kids like on their lunch break from high school, would you boycott that place as a family? 801-575-TALK. Your call's next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Nikki Haley stopped to talk with the KSL editorial board ahead of her rally at Utah Valley University today. The former South Carolina governor says so long as a majority of Americans don't want a rematch between President Biden and former President Trump, she's going to keep fighting.
You'd have months of people complaining that Joe Biden's calling his opponents fascists and Donald Trump's calling his opponents vermin. I'm trying to give people a choice, and I think they deserve that.
Haley also said America will have a female president in the near future. She believes it's either going to be her or current Vice President Kamala Harris. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More than 300,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees are being recalled because of a potential problem with their steering wheels. ABC's Mike Dubusky reports.
Documents submitted to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration say the wheel could disconnect from its internal mechanisms and fall forward, possibly resulting in a crash. The order impacts the latest generation of the truck made between 2021 and 2023 and includes the extended wheelbase Grand Cherokee L model. Mike Dubusky, ABC News.
Jeep dealers will replace the affected parts for free. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average sliding to begin the day. The NASDAQ also down right now. And just ahead, it looks like we'll get some sunshine before another storm moves in. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to losing up to a pound of fat every day? That's what I love about Salt Lake City fat loss. It's a pound of fat. This is not just water weight, that fluctuates. You are really losing the inches around your belly, your legs, your thighs. It has been incredible, what I've seen in the last 30 days. Now, many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. For me, I've had that experience. I've lost 30 pounds in 30 days. It has been amazing. I feel fantastic. Salt Lake City Fat Loss has a unique program to lose weight and get healthy. I was afraid that on the program that I would feel sluggish, have no energy. I feel great. I still play pickleball for a couple hours a day. I haven't felt that. So this program allows you to lose weight without surgery, no injections, no point counting, no exercising, and no prepackaged meals. All you have to do is go to saltlakeCityFatLoss.com. You can schedule your free consultation in person or virtually. Go to slcfatloss.com, or you can give them a call at 801-450-1882. That's 801-450-1882.
Tired of living in your parents' basement or renting? You want to buy a home, but you were told that your debt-to-income ratio is too high. This is why you need a highly qualified mortgage lender. Rick at Loans by Rick has 22 years of experience and has helped hundreds of clients lower their debt-to-income so they can make the most important purchase of their lives and buy a home. As with any profession, there are different levels of mortgage lenders, so why not work with the best lender? One that can cut through the mortgage jungle and get you into a home. As interest rates come down, home values will go up, creating multiple offers which will raise home values higher. Don't wait to buy a home. Buy now. You can always refinance later and save hundreds of dollars. Let Loans by Rick guide you with your mortgage process. Call 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. That's loansbyrick.com.
Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Some restrictions apply.
Would you like to be part of an important research study and receive up to $550? The Beehive study at the University of Utah is comparing how well 2 different FDA-authorized booster vaccines protect people against COVID-19. You can decide to get a booster or not and still participate. By joining the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for completing activities such as weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at www.beehivestudy.com.
We're looking at breaking news right now. We have just learned that Mitch McConnell, the Senate minority leader from Kentucky, is announcing that he will step down as the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate. We will find more details on that and pass them along to you as soon as they're available. Now, we have emergency traffic. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the delays southbound I-15 are decreasing, but you still have 3 miles of stop-and-go traffic from Bangerter Highway all the way to the point of the mountain where a crash is still blocking the right lane and shoulder. It is in the cleanup stages, but we've heard there may be a crash in the backup of that, so that's what's keeping things pretty slow through that area. Also, we have debris scattered across the on-ramp from 90th South and Sandy to go northbound I-15. The left lanes are blocked in on that ramp, so that's going to slow people down as well. Need a perfect event venue? There's a place. This is the Place Heritage Park, ideal for weddings, events, featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. Call or visit thisistheplace.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
And traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Our KSL weather sunny today with a high of 48. Clouds build up tomorrow and Friday as the temperature rises towards 60. Then a cold front brings rain and snow this weekend. Right now, 35 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
We just heard from Dan Bomas. He just broke the news moments ago that Senator Mitch McConnell has announced he's going to step down as Senate leader in November. We've been monitoring the live feeds. Dave, you've got a feed pulled up for us from who? Who's this from?
MSNBC.
MSNBC. Let's listen.
However, I'll complete my job my colleagues have given me until we select a new leader in November and they take the helm next January. I'll finish the job the people of Kentucky hired me to do as well, albeit from a different seat. And I'm actually looking forward to that. So it's time for me to think about another season. I love the Senate. It's been my life. There may be more distinguished members of this body throughout our history, but I doubt there were any with any more admiration for the Senate. After all this time, I still get a thrill walking into the Capitol, and especially on this venerable floor, knowing that we, each of us,
That's
have the
Republican
honor to
Minority
represent our
Leader Mitch McConnell announcing live right now that he is stepping down as the GOP leader in November. He's been there a very, very long time. He turned 82 years old last week. He's been there since the mid-'80s, 1985. And, of course, if you recall, in the last several months, he's had a few instances where it looks like he's having some medical episodes that have concerned, the public, his electorate, and folks back on Capitol Hill as well.
The big announcement, obviously, is that he's stepping down. I think an interesting detail that he just mentioned is that he will continue to serve out his term. His term doesn't end until 2027,
Mm-hmm.
so he'll give up his seat, but he'll still serve for another 3 years.
We'll continue to track the developments on this breaking story with our team of reporters and producers. Let's get right on the money.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, first we thought Wendy's was announcing surge pricing. That's what all the stories, news articles that I read about it last night were saying, is that they're going to do surge pricing. So when things get really busy, they're going to up the price. But now they've come out and clarified and said, oh, no, it's like dynamic pricing. And with these new menu boards that are digital, we'll be able to maybe lower the prices from time to time. But I am anti-surge pricing through and through. I will walk through the desert to the next restaurant before I get surge priced. I just won't do it.
It's because you haven't experienced the good part of surge pricing, or dynamic pricing as they're calling it. Let me tell you, my son absolutely experiences this every day at lunch. There's restaurants around the high school that he attends. There's one right now that only during school lunch hours, he can go and get a burger and fries. Are you ready for this? $2. $2 for burger and fries. It's only for students. It's only during those lunch hours.
That's the desurging pricing I love to hear about.
Yeah, it's what happens. You can, when you have dynamic pricing, you can offer some specials.
We want to take your live phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Bob, are you in my camp on this one? Would you never go back?
Yeah, I am on your camp totally, and I want to tell you a little story about a rideshare company. I took my family to Hawaii in January. There were 10 of us. Our flight got canceled at 11 p.m. at night. We couldn't get rental cars back because they were closed, so we had to get hired. I'll tell you who it was. It was Lyft. Hired Lyft to pick us up. We had to have 2 cars. They charged me $166 to go from the airport to the hotel. The second one came, and he said to me, I'm going to cancel your request. You have to pay me in cash, and charged me $69 to take us to the airport. I was stuck. I had little kids.
Yep.
And I was totally price gouged.
Bob, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. Samuel from American Fork. What do you feel about this surge pricing? Are you as hot about it as I am?
Well, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. I think to Bob's point, when you're stuck in a predicament and you have to be in that position, that's one thing, right? Because you do feel the victim of, hey, I'm just beholden of some guy or some company who's taking it to me. When we're talking like fast food, look, it's a product and a service. If you don't like it, you walk away.
Yep.
If you like it and it works for you, you jump in. And I think our market really lends to that kind of approach where there's a lot of companies, I never go back. If I have a bad experience, I'm like, sorry, guys. You had one shot. That was it. I'm out. So I think from a perspective of just how the market runs, I'm always voting with my choice. And I appreciate that there are choices. If McDonald's wants to serve breakfast 24 hours a day, I'm in. I like breakfast. If they don't, then I'm out. Right?
I know,
At the end of the day,
I'm with you,
go ahead.
Samuel. I love the McDonald's hash browns every single time. Thanks for your take on that. Dave wanted to say something.
I went through a fast food place early morning. I was starving. I grabbed something, and they're like, do you want a supersize, monster size that? I'm like, yeah, sure, double supersize monster it. And I get the bill. It was for one person. It was a sandwich, a drink, and some French fries, whatever, hash browns. $14.72. It was $14 for a fast food breakfast, and I was done with them. I will never go back. I was wrong.
You were bugged.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
And that's the danger of dynamic pricing. If you get gouged, you may lose that customer forever. You may have made an extra buck, but that's it.
Right now, the Wendy's Baconator, Dave, is almost $9. Our producer looked it up to order it on an app just a few moments ago. And this is not the entire meal. That is just the Wendy's Baconator, $8.69. Now, I don't remember the last time I had a Wendy's Baconator. It sounds delicious. It's just not my style at age 56. They can't surge price that. They cannot surge price that. Any restaurant that already has a $9 fast food burger and tries to surge price, yeah, I'm out.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
Jazz Plus is here. With Jazz Plus, you can watch games live from your TV, computer, tablet, or phone. So don't miss any of the action when you're at home or away. Can't get enough of your favorite team? Go behind the scenes and see what the team is up to on and off the court. With flexible plans, you can choose what works for you, from full season to monthly, or just pick a single game you want to watch. Sign up and subscribe today at UtahJazzPlus.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. In football, the kicker sits on the bench for most of the game. They are not needed until they are really needed. Then in one play, they might win the game. Most work teams require specialty expertise as well. If you're the tax accountant or tax attorney, you might spend a lot of time on the bench before you get your chance to save the bottom line or prevent a lawsuit. Sometimes what you have in common with your team members might be less important than the unique skills you bring to your team. So team leaders need to recognize that there are times when one expert who rarely gets used is the most important member of the team. Learn more about what makes the best teams work in an MBA from Utah State University. Go to UtahStateMBA.com. That's UtahStateMBA.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
If a man calls another man crazy, it's a compliment.
This is my buddy Joey's crazy. Joey's like, you're just being nice.
Jim Gaffigan, Barely Alive Tour.
Because if my wife was standing here and I was like, this is my wife, she's crazy, I'd be dead. And all of you would applaud. You'd be like, well, that was a teachable moment.
Jim Gaffigan, a night of all new material. Friday, October 25th at Eccles Theater. Tickets on sale Friday at jimgaffigan.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Senator Mitch McConnell announced today he'll be stepping down as minority leader. Second, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, the only candidate still challenging former President Trump in the race for the Republican nomination, is visiting Utah today. Third, Jeep is recalling more than 300,000 Grand Cherokees because of a steering problem. Right now, 35 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Priced Out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We're so excited to have the support of the Stern team. Of course, big name in real estate all over Utah. When we go in depth on being priced out of housing, they've been very, very helpful with direction on where the market is going, where interest rates are going, and from time to time we have them in studio with us. Today, with their support, I'm going to talk to you, Dave, and our listeners about prepping your home for sale. Spring is a big time for home sales. A lot of sellers will be, looking to put their home on the market. A lot of buyers will be out looking around because traditionally, just this is my experience as a home buyer and a seller, and I've sold a number of properties and I've bought a number of properties in my time. People want to buy a home in the spring, early summer because they want to be settled in for the school year when the school year starts.
And it makes a lot of sense. There's a practicality that comes to this. But when you're selling, there's kind of this sweet spot where you don't want to sell it in one day, and you don't want to sell it 3 months down the road, right? You're trying to find, can I get as much money as possible from it without overpricing it and then having to do these
So that's not my philosophy at all. And I have sold many homes, and I've sold...
Because you're underpricing it, Deb.
No, I've sold 2 homes. Actually, that's not true either. And let me get to that in just a moment. I do feel like I've become this sort of like this expert in this area about selling your home quickly, getting the most you can get out of it, not overpricing it because that is the death of a quick sale. And I've sold 2 homes in one day. I've sold 1 home in 2 days. And in the very downturn of the market, I remember back in 09, 10, 11 when nothing was moving, I sold a home in under 3 weeks. When nothing was moving for months at a time, our home sold in 3 weeks. And there's a method to my madness, and I want to share it with you.
Let's hear it.
Because I actually feel like of the 2 of us, I probably have a lot more experience in this arena. And it's not because I'm underpricing it. I'm not fire selling my home. In fact, the way I've done this, Dave, I have made a lot more than listing price on my homes. A lot more. So let's start with this. The first thing you need to do is, are you interested?
Absolutely.
You're looking at me
I'm
like nuts. Okay.
No.
All right. So let's go.
I'm just telling you, you have the experience. I didn't pull that thought right out of my ear. That was told to me by a realtor, that there's a balance of you don't want to sell it too quick, but you feel differently. That's fine.
Why would you not want to sell it too quick? What was the philosophy there?
The idea is if it's too good of a deal and people are snatching it up immediately, you probably could have added an extra $10,000 or $15,000 to your price.
Okay. So here's my experience. You got to start 8 to 12 weeks in advance to prep your home before you ever get it on the market. I always use a real estate agent. That's just my philosophy. A lot of folks tend or want to do the DIY home sales. I'm not at all intrigued by that.
You're right.
Right. I get a real estate agent, and I'm already sitting down with them weeks before it goes on the market. And then before we do anything, before we take photographs, before we have already started talking about pricing, before we go in depth on pricing, I am making landfill runs. I'm going through every nook and cranny. I'm throwing stuff away. I am the best. My best friend now is at the drive-through at the local donation center. I was at the landfill in my last home sale no less than 8 times. I'm dumping stuff we no longer need and that is not useful to anybody else. I'm removing family photos from the walls. I'm getting rid of them. The last thing I want to do is have a potential buyer not be able to see past my bridal portrait and see their own family in that home. It's no longer going to be my home. It's going to be their home. They don't need to see pictures of my kids when they were 1 year old.
Is that hard?
No, not at all. Because at this point, this is another important thing.
Because you're removing the memories.
So this is another important thing, and this is where I push back on what that real estate agent told you about not in one day. This is no longer an emotional issue. This is strictly a business transaction. Do you think Walmart wants to leave things marinating and rotting on the shelf? They want to move merchandise, and that is my philosophy. I have made the decision to sell. I'm not kidding. I'm not messing around with this.
You've already made peace with it.
I'm all in.
You're saying goodbye to your children's wall that has little markers on there.
I'm not interested in 5 days of open houses. Sorry to the real estate agent. I'm just not interested in getting out of the house over and over again and having the phone ring at 8 o'clock the night before and say, oh, guess what? Can you get the kids out of the house today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day because we're going to have some showings? I'm going to move this house and move it as quickly. You're going to the dollar store, you're buying all the cleaning supplies, and you're going to scrub that top to bottom, and this is not the time to start remodeling. You're not pulling up carpet and redoing carpet. This is my view, and this is how I do it. You're cleaning the carpets. Yes, you're paying a couple $100 to clean the carpets, or you're buying a cleaner yourself and doing it yourself, whatever the case. But you're going to put in $4,000 of new carpet, and that buyer's going to come in and go like, oh, shoot, I like pink carpet, or I want hardwoods. So you've spent $4,000, you've spent a lot of time, you've made arrangements to get all your furniture out of there, and now the buyer comes in, and trust me, they will not like what you have. Not one buyer has come in and kept what I've had. They're going to make it their own, and they should. Yeah. It's their home now. It's no longer yours.
There's also a flip side to that. As you're decluttering and you're hauling all that stuff off to the landfill, you're not hauling that into your new house. So perhaps you don't need 3 full U-Hauls of stuff.
Yeah.
You're already getting rid of it.
I hired movers because for the big stuff, I think my bill was maybe $500 or $600.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd gotten rid of so much stuff. I'd sold stuff. I gave stuff away. Right, Gustavo? Where's Gustavo? He knows. Give him some nice chairs for his family. Anything that went outside never was allowed to come back inside. If I had a garage sale and I put it out, it didn't come back in the house. Now this is the next part, it's the pricing. And this is where your real estate agent's like, oh, it gets, super tricky because you don't want to sell it too quickly. What's my time worth? $10,000? Probably not. I have found that you've got a price based on the condition of your home, the area of town you live in, and the market situation. Okay? It's not your fault if you got to sell and you got to move because you're moving for your job and it is like the worst time to sell a home. You just have to accept that. It's part of the business transaction that you're now in. You're letting go. You've let it go of the emotions. This house is going to be somebody else's. Okay, you're moving the merchandise. That's all you're doing. And so my best advice on this is listen to your real estate agent.
On the number.
They're going to get the comps, the comparables from the neighborhood, and they're going to tell you, hey, the fact that you have like tile here and you've done a special mosaic here doesn't matter with the price. The fact is this square footage with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths in the neighborhood is selling for this price. And find the right price point. If it's a little bit less, that's okay. Because I have priced on point every time, and I have had on 3 homes, Dave, bidding wars. The last home I sold, I had 12 offers. And I had real estate agents, not my own, because I love and adore them and I trust them, come to me and say, oh, you underpriced. Exactly what you just said. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I sold for a lot more than what they would have even priced it at because it creates excitement. You do not want to let your home marinate on the market. Marinating is for steaks on a Saturday. It is not for your home. you are getting out of that home and you're trying to get it sold in spring, because the longer it sits on the market, the more the buyers think there's something wrong with it or that you're desperate. So the problem with overpricing it even $10,000 is it distracts the buyers to feel like they're getting gouged, and that doesn't generate in my view, does not generate the excitement that you need when a home first goes on the market. The pictures should be awesome. The posting should be amazing.
Do you pay for the pictures?
No, it all comes out of the real estate fees that I've paid, because the seller...
It's one of the things they offer.
Yeah, this is controversial. But, now with the 6% that the seller pays for their home, that's been in court, and it's been... they're talking about maybe being able to negotiate. But as part of that price that you pay to sell your home to the real estate agents, the pictures, the marketing, it all comes with it. And here's an important caveat. And again, we're going to make sure we get the mention for the Stern team and thank them. When you list your home, this has worked for me. Thin out the furniture and get out of the house for the open houses. Get out of the house. Go on vacation for a few days.
Learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Just visit sternteam.com.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky announced this morning that he will no longer serve as the leader of Republicans in the Senate.
One of life's most underappreciated talents is to know when it's time to move on to life's next chapter. So I stand before you today, Mr. President, and my colleagues, to say this will be my last term as Republican leader of the Senate.
McConnell has served more than 10 years as leader of both Republican majorities and minorities in the Senate. He'll continue to serve as the senior U.S. Senator from Kentucky. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is in Utah today, hoping to take some Republican votes away from former President Trump. Utah holds its Republican caucuses and Democratic primary next week on Super Tuesday. Haley plans a rally this afternoon at Utah Valley University. 180 skiers had to be evacuated from a broken chair ski lift at Bryan Head. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
So one of the lifts on the Giant Steps run malfunctioned, and Ski Patrol had to use ropes and harnesses to get everyone down. 2 hours passed before every skier was safely lowered off of the lift, but reaction to the resort's response has been very positive.
The resort chalked up the malfunction to a mechanical issue. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, so is the NASDAQ right now. And our KSL weather, looks like sunshine is here until the next storm moves in. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
I'm author Richard Paul Evans. My wife once told me that I share too much.
I probably do, but maybe that's why I've had 46 consecutive New York Times bestsellers. It's also why I've named my new book, Sharing Too Much, Musings from an Unlikely Life. Sharing Too Much is a private look into my thoughts on love, marriage, the world, and life as a writer. For my readers, you'll get to know me more intimately, the husband, father, and the writer behind the books and movies that have inspired millions worldwide. The national reviews have been great. She Reads writes, a most anticipated anthology. Evan's wise insights and powerful advice is the gift that keeps on giving. Kirkus writes, Evans shares a half-century of ruminations, succinct musings meant to inspire. Sharing Too Much contains 59 essays, including How I Saved My Marriage, which had more than 100 million readers worldwide. Sharing Too Much by Richard Paul Evans. On sale now at your nearby bookstore or online. Also available in audiobook and ebook.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly. Or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare. But if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
We have emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Southbound I-15 still a mess at the south end of the valley. It's due to an accident approaching the point of the mountain, which still is blocking a right lane of travel, causing backups to Bangerter Highway. A little bit of good news for drivers in Sandy. The cleanup of the center blocks that had fallen off the road and blocked the ramp completely westbound 90th south to go northbound I-15. They now have opened up a right lane, but you still need to use caution getting around that debris. Common Spirit Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our KSL weather, sunny today, high 48. Clouds build up tomorrow and Friday as the temperature rises towards 60. Then a cold front brings rain and snow this weekend. Right now, 36 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I have two of my colleagues in studio with me. Both had a chance to sit down and talk to presidential Republican candidate Nikki Haley, who is in town, both Boyd and Dave.
We're better than this. And I think that, America has an amazing ability to self-correct. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to know where up is.
And she thinks we've hit rock bottom, especially in the Republican Party, where they've lost, they've underperformed in election after election after election. They're going to recycle Donald Trump, most likely. And she says, at what point are we going to wake up and move on and look for something new?
Boyd, you also sat down with her for a one-on-one
Yes,
interview.
we did a one-on-one for Sunday edition for KSL 5 TV. We'll be sharing a little bit of that today, coming up at 1:05, and of course she's down at Utah Valley University. I thought some of the most interesting things I always want to know from these things. You kind of know the answers of, President Biden, President Trump, that kind of stuff. It was really interesting to listen to some of her animating principles, the things that kind of get her out of bed in the morning, that make all of this exasperating, exhausting thing that is campaigning, and realize she's been doing this for over a year. So imagine all of that. And what is it that actually makes it worth it? And to me, one of the interesting things she talked about was this whole sense of, most of the country is not talking about this the way politicians in Washington are talking about it. She actually described in just a hallway conversation we were having about what she did when she was ambassador to the UN. that she would have the ambassadors from China, from Russia, from all of these places to her home. And they would talk about their children and their grandchildren and what's going on with the people in their country, building relations, not just transactions. Because even if someone is, quote, an enemy, you still have to be able to have a relationship so that you can deal with things, solve things, resolve things. And I thought that was a really interesting approach and her perspective there.
One of the questions that was asked to her was, does morality and character matter? Because there is a stark contrast between the former president and most other candidates. Is this the rock bottom that she's talking about? And why aren't we valuing morality and character more?
I think so. That's why I'm running. I mean, I think that we're better than this. And I think that, America has an amazing ability to self-correct. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom to know where up is. We're there. Now we just have to see if everybody's willing to go up. And honestly, it takes a lot of courage. It takes courage for people to believe that they can be part of the solution.
Do you buy this? Do you buy that we're at rock bottom?
I think we're pretty doggone close. when it comes to some of the things, we're not hanging by a thread by any stretch of the imagination. But when it comes to moral clarity and moral authority, we're definitely swimming in the dredges down there for sure. And it's one of those things that if you go all the way back to George Washington, he said, is it too much for us to expect that the private morality and the public behavior of leaders of the United States of America should not be the envy of the world? I agree with that. And I think we've fallen a long, long way from that. And that's not about one political party. That's not about one politician. It's about what we expect out of our leaders. And the fact that I think part of that rock bottom is we, the people, expecting more rather than settling for less. We've been told, well, that's just the way it is. That's the new normal. You don't have to have morality and integrity and all of those things that made the country extraordinary. And we have to get back to that because that is what gives us power. That is what drives the country. It is what everyone across the country, what they're trying to teach their children today.
When I look at President Trump's track record when it comes to morals and integrity, he's not a shining star. He's just not a shining star. He's had the sex abuse liability claim go against him in court. He's facing numerous indictments in different parts of the country based on what he what he did after the elections. He owes, I guess, the state of New York or somebody in New York. He owes them, hundreds of millions of dollars. Was found liable for significant amount of years-long fraud in New York. So he's not a shining star. And then I look at Nikki Haley, who's got she's got a very, very stellar resume. Yeah. Governor, 2 terms in South Carolina, first female governor, daughter of immigrants, worked in the family business. It's hard work to work in a small business and build that business up.
No question.
Has not had nearly any of the nothing compared to Trump, and yet Republicans continue to say, he's the guy we want. I'm shocked by this, and also Haley did talk about this in the editorial board meeting regarding Trump specifically. And Dave, you said that it's probably the strongest you've heard her speak about Trump lately.
Yeah, so many levels to it, saying, one of the things that conservatives believe in is fiscal restraint. That didn't happen during the Trump years. How about the border? We've been talking so much about the border. When Republicans had the White House, the House, and the Senate, nothing got done. So these conservative principles and the policies that you claim to love and support what the president was doing, these are still the exact same problems we're dealing with now.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And to me, I think that's one of the interesting things that Ambassador Haley has been pointing out. She's not only been willing to talk about the Biden administration or what the Democrats have or haven't done. That's easy. That's easy politics, to yell at your enemies. But she's been talking to her friends and telling them the truth, that under President Trump, there was an additional $8 trillion added to the debt, more than any president in history. Now, you can add COVID, and you can have that debate. But living up to those principles we profess to believe. And I think that's the real question. And circling back to your comment, Debbie, I think that's so important because we've had this steady slide of what we've been willing to accept in our public officials when it comes to morality, integrity, honesty, basic human decency. We are so far afield from what we used to expect. I mean, just think back. I mean, you can go back to Bill Clinton. You can go back to the Kennedys. You can just keep going back through time. And it used to be very small things were the end of a political career. And what's happening now? It's the beginning of a political career. Why? Because we continue to celebrate it. And now we live in this doom-scrolling world that is all about chaos. And chaos is addictive. In other words, once you get the high, that dopamine hit of chaos, then you're going to want a little more the next time and a little more. It's like going to a Daytona race and you're there for the crash, or you go to the hockey game and you're waiting for the fight to break out. You're looking for the chaos. And so we've done that. We can look at all of these screens in the newsroom, and it's chaos peddling. And so no one should be shocked that the former president isn't doing extremely well in that, because society is validating that, and then we're all becoming part of it because of the algorithms in our own self-selected media bubbles. And so to me, that's a big part of the challenge is, and again, I'm going to go back to Debbie's point because I don't think we talk about this enough. Integrity matters. It either matters or it doesn't.
Well, it matters to me.
And it matters to you. And
it matters to my kids.
Right. And so then we have to be careful because then we go into the yeah, but. It's like, well, I don't think he has integrity. I don't like the way he does business. I don't like the way he talks. But if I don't vote for him, then the evil, awful, horrible people on the other side are going to win. And then it's a lesser of two evils choice. And that is a false choice, which we just have to reject as voters. And until voters do exactly what you just said, Debbie, and that is vote different, then we're going to keep getting the same. And the chaos, doesn't matter who's in the White House, the chaos will continue.
Thanks, Boyd. This portion of the David Dujanovic Show is brought to you by Window World. Replace your windows and doors without the hassle or baloney. Call Window World of Utah today.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I remember back in my 20s, I had an opportunity to work with teenagers that were struggling with alcohol and drug addiction. So I've been very close to it. I've seen how difficult the process can be. Renaissance Ranch wants to help you, not with teens, but with adult men. And this is an area where they want to help the families as well.
And if you do have a family member who's struggling with addiction, whether they're currently in recovery or, you know what, you need help too. Let's face it. It is tough when you have a family member who is going through addiction. Renaissance Ranch is there. They offer free family support services through weekly online classes that are open to the public. Take advantage of this. You can attend as many of these open classes as you want to, as you need to.
Because the research has shown that when loved ones are involved, the chances of a more positive outcome for those addicted loved ones skyrockets. These classes are taught from a spousal, parental, and personal perspective. They even offer a women's support group and a couples recovery group. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com. You can learn all you need to about their incredible program. They've been doing this for over 20 years. They have an amazing alumni following. Find out more at renaissanceranch.com.
Every single show on KSL News Radio is part of the KSL app, so you can listen when you want. When you want. News with Tim and Amanda when you get up? Hit live on the app. Dave and Dujanovic at 9 and Boyd Matheson at 1. They're on the app. Plus, you can podcast them for work. And Jeff Kaplan? Yeah, he's there on the app. The movie show, KSL Greenhouse, latest traffic report? They're all on the app for KSL News Radio. KSL News Radio.
If you only have a 401k, you're not getting the most for retirement.
Wait, what?
Add a Robinhood IRA on top, then they'll boost it by 3%.
You can do that?
And if you transfer in any retirement account, you get 3% on top of that.
Is there a limit to the match?
No limit. Robinhood Gold gets you the biggest contribution match of any IRA on the market. Sign up for Robinhood Gold at Robinhood.com/boost by April 30th. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Match on transfers subject to additional terms and conditions. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
Asante came to TurboTax after graduating from culinary school and landing a job in the hottest kitchen in town.
My hands are full all day, every day. I love it.
Asante, as your TurboTax expert, I'll make your moves count, guaranteeing 100% accurate filing and your maximum refund. Sound good?
Yes, expert!
Switch to Intuit TurboTax and make your moves count. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell says he'll step down from his Senate leadership position. He's been the Republican leader in the Senate for more than 10 years. Second, Nikki Haley visiting Utah today, planning a rally at Utah Valley University. Former South Carolina governor running well behind Donald Trump in the race for the Republican presidential nomination. Third, 180 people had to be rescued from a stuck ski lift at Bryan Head. Right now, 36 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We were going to ask for phone calls about Nikki Haley, but I forgot. We're so involved with that conversation that we just had with Boyd, and Boyd and Dave had a chance to sit down with Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley this morning, that I just forgot to ask y'all to call in. So pick up the phone, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Give us a call. If you don't have time to do this, you can always send us a text message at 57500. Why not Haley? Why not Haley? What do you think, Dave? You talked to her today.
It doesn't make a lot of sense if we're really looking at the practicality of winning the White House for Republicans. So if you want to say I'm voting for policy, and that's why I kind of hold my nose and I support Donald Trump, there's a clear option. Nikki Haley is a clear conservative, has run on conservative values. Now, is she as extreme in some cases? No, there is some difference between Trump and Haley, of course. But one of the things she wanted to know is Donald Trump spent $8 billion during his presidency. Now, a huge chunk of that was during COVID. Who saw that coming? But he was not the financial conservative that many people want. That was clear. He's not talking about the debt right now. When you see him on the campaign trails, and this is what Nikki Haley was bringing up in the editorial board meeting, she said, we're having to borrow money to pay for the interest on our national debt. We're borrowing money to pay for the interest. But do you hear Donald Trump talking about spending? Do you hear him talking about the debt? No. And she doesn't understand why that's not a priority.
We also were talking about this when you ran back in from the editorial board meeting to jump on the microphone with me at about 9:30 about the string of losses that Trump has his fingerprints on, and he's helped hand Republicans over the last several years.
It is why Donald Trump will not win. Because if you look at all of those demographics, going back to 2016, look at how it continues to fall. And look at the races it's bringing down with it. I mean, that's the key is you have to bring those people in. Since he lost the races in Georgia, what has he done to bring any of those people in? Nothing. He lost in 2018, he lost in 2020, he lost in 2022. But look, a couple of weeks ago, Republicans lost the vote on Israel. Republicans lost the vote on the border. The RNC chair lost her job. Donald Trump had his fingerprints on all of it.
We're taking your phone calls, 575 Talk, 575 Talk. Mike in Salt Lake City. Mike, what do you think?
I'm troubled by our politics significantly. There's no doubt about it. I'm 60 years old. But it's not as simple as saying that the morality of the individual has to trump anything else, no pun intended. Because if you love 70% of what one candidate does, you loathe 30%, but yet the other candidate, you love 30% and loathe 70%, and a lot of that is based on the morality. You have to choose the lesser of two evils. And this is where the difficulty lies, because it's not that simple. For example, I really, really liked her very much until I started reading and studying and finding about what she has done since her governorship and her ambassadorship. And then I start thinking, gosh, she's in bed with the Chinese. And this makes it extremely difficult for me.
You have to, okay, but you've got to be able to back that up, Mike. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. When I say she's in bed with the Chinese, I'm talking that she has been working as a lobbyist and in groups that lobby heavily in Washington for Chinese interests. And so when it comes down to it, I have to decide as a voter, what's a bigger deal to me? Well, China to me is by far the single biggest threat to our markets, to our economy, and to our defense. So I just look at it that way. And so when it comes down to choosing what after what she has done since her ambassadorship and governorship, I'm going, man, I just don't agree with a significant amount of what she's been doing over the last 6 or 8 years.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. So it sounds, you really didn't get to this point, but it sounds like maybe it doesn't matter what President Trump does, right, in his personal life. Maybe it doesn't matter that he owes New York $450 some odd million in fines because of a trial that went nowhere near, did not go near his way at all. I mean, he was so far off base with his defense, and he got caught, right? He got caught engaging in significant amounts of what's been called fraud. Doesn't matter that what happened in 1996 to the woman that he was found liable for sexual abuse of. Doesn't matter. It's just all about what. And to your claims that she's lobbying on behalf of Chinese firms, I'll have to fact check you on that, because, and maybe I'm hoping our team of reporters, our producers in the newsroom are doing that right now. Because, Dave, have you heard anything like that?
Yeah, this is a pretty common thing coming against Nikki Haley. She's done some consulting work. She's worked for some defense contractors, those that have donated to her campaign. There's been some connections that way that I've heard.
What about with Trump? Are there any connections there with his donations?
Yeah, I mean, every single politician, has something that you could point to, right? There's no one that hasn't received a donation from somebody that you could make a connection to. I think ultimately what plays in Trump's favor is he spent 4 years as president. There's something very tangible about the results that we saw. Now, it got derailed in the final year because of COVID, so I almost remove a lot of that final year because, the spending, the things that were happening, it was unprecedented. We were all trying to figure it out at that point. But for the first 3 years, there's no question that the economy was booming. There were things that your 401k was soaring. There were a lot of positives during those 4 years. And I think people look back on those 4 years, and there's a lot to like about the result. What a lot of people are ignoring is how we got there and who got us there. And again, kind of holding the nose because it was Donald Trump.
I think the elephant in the room, and I'm going to start talking about this more and more, is that she's a woman. I think
You think?
I do. I think that it's because she's a woman. And there's been a lot of research done on what's called the woman problem. They've labeled it the woman problem in politics. That's how we're viewed, what our roles are in society, even in 2024. But at this point, you can't give me something so nuanced because it sounds like an excuse. It sounds like, oh, well, I looked into this person's background and I found this little thing. When she's running against a man who has just a whole host of legal problems and certainly is not at the level of integrity that we should expect of our leaders. But she addressed this with the editorial board at Broadcast House today, and Dave was sitting right there and said this about female president.
I have said this, and I truly believe it. There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. And if Donald Trump is the nominee, we can all welcome a President Kamala Harris.
I don't buy the sexism angle at all. I think we've absolutely moved past that. Hillary Clinton was the nominee, didn't win. When we've seen that worldwide, whether it's Liz Truss for England, Angela Merkel in Germany. I think the world is more than comfortable with having a woman as their leader. I think ultimately Donald Trump is dynamic. He is polarizing. He's inspiring. All of those things all at once. And he is the unicorn. He came from nowhere. He wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. That plays in his favor. And he's got momentum right now.
There is a Pew Research study out. It came out last fall. Most Americans, 65%, think voters are more likely to support a candidate if the candidate is a white man. That's from Pew Research. That's not just from me spewing that I think there's a woman problem here. There's a woman problem. Let's just admit it. We're not ready to have a female as president yet, but we're willing to settle, at least Republicans appear right now to be willing to settle on a man who has a whole bunch of problems with his morals.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley stopped by Broadcast House to talk with the KSL editorial board ahead of her rally today. Haley says a big reason she's still in the race is because based on some polls, she thinks former President Trump will not beat President Biden in the general election.
I have said this, and I truly believe it. There will be a female president of the United States. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. And if Donald Trump is the nominee, we can all welcome a President Kamala Harris.
Haley says so long as most people don't want a Trump-Biden rematch, she'll keep fighting. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Senator Mitch McConnell says he'll step down from his role as the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate.
I have full confidence in my conference to choose my replacement and lead our country forward.
The change won't be immediate. McConnell will continue to serve as minority leader through November, and he'll still be the senior senator for Kentucky for another 4 years. Our stocks right now, our money at this moment, it looks like the Dow Jones average is down. The NASDAQ also trending down at this hour. And our KSL weather, we've got some sunshine today. Clouds building up toward a storm at the end of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Life-changing moments don't just walk up and hit you like a ton of bricks. Sometimes, life-changing moments are as simple as a friend's advice or reading a book that gives you new perspectives on old dilemmas you have. That's why, for you, it may be time for LIFT, LIFT stands for Love is Forever True. Written by Greg Stephan, LIFT explores 87 personal experiences with family, friends, and those from the other side of the veil. LIFT challenges ideas you've wrestled with, maybe your entire life. It's about love and pure truth, and the reality of another world after we leave this one. Visit Amazon today and search for LIFT, L-I-F-T, Love is Forever True by Greg Stephan. This could be one of those life-changing moments you weren't expecting, but will embrace with all your heart. Here are the answers no other resource may have ever offered. That's LIFT by Greg Stephan. Find it exclusively on Amazon today. LIFT.
37,000, 25, 1. These are the three numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need to make the right business decisions instantly. 37,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down expenses. 1. Because your business is one of a kind, so you get a customized solution for all of your KPIs in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow, all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist, designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/company. That's netsuite.com/company to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/company.
My wife was like, I want to go to Hawaii and I want to bring the kids. And I was like, whose kids?
Jim Gaffigan, Barely Alive Tour.
I spent the entire time applying and reapplying sunscreen, which thankfully makes my skin whiter.
Jim Gaffigan, a night of all new material. Friday, October 25th at Eccles Theater. Tickets on sale Friday at jimgaffigan.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We are back to a crash-free commute on the Valley freeways, and the accident that we had that caused so many backups southbound I-15 approaching the point of the mountain all cleared, and the delays are gone. Save up to 20 cents off per gallon using Sinclair's DinoPay app. Find a Sinclair station, store amenities, purchase history, and enjoy a simple, secure way to pay for fuel. Download the free app today. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, sunny today, high 48. Then clouds build up tomorrow and Friday as the temperature rises towards 60. The cold front will bring rain and snow for the weekend. And right now, 38 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It's been the talk of the town, Dave, wouldn't you say? The MLB baseball billion-dollar ballpark funding, which got sideways into some drama yesterday, and that bill got gutted and changed. So we're going to talk about that for just a moment. And then the NHL, NBA remodel or redo of the Delta Center.
I think we've definitely kept it in the conversation because it's important. We're talking about billions of dollars of taxpayer money going to sports stadiums to billionaire owners. I mean, we should be talking about this.
It's all in the framing. I mean, come on.
Holly Richardson with Utah Policy also writes for the Deseret News, keeps an eye on the Hill on all the things legislation. And this one, let's start with the MLB ballpark on the west side where Dave and I were broadcasting live yesterday. You were on the show with us as things were changing.
Yeah.
And then it got gutted. The original funding package would have been hotel room taxes.
Right.
And that got tossed.
It did, and that was where legislators had heartburn. And so when they substituted the bill, when Representative Wilcox subbed the bill on the floor, right around lunchtime yesterday, there were a number of legislators, especially from rural Utah, who stood up and said, I was a hard no. I had a lot of heartburn over this bill, but because of these changes, I can support this bill. And it passed out of the House yesterday afternoon and then went to a Senate committee
Well, I thought Representative Walt Brooks from St. George, when he stood up on the House floor and he said this.
About half of our visitors that stay in hotels are you from Salt Lake that come down to St. George. And I could not vote for a bill that's going to increase taxes statewide for this issue.
Because a lot of us, based on rhetoric coming off Capitol Hill, were under the impression that, the tourists, the out-of-state tourists, were going to pick up the tab for a lot of this. But he said 50%.
I'm sure that's right.
Well, but Ryan Wilcox called the show in the 9 o'clock hour. He's the chief sponsor of the legislation of this funding. And he said, it's more like 25%. So he pushed back on Brooks. Whatever the case may be, they gutted the whole thing. So how are they going to pay for it now?
Well, there's still some funding in there. There's some funding mechanisms remaining, including one that would allow increasing car rental taxes after the stadium is built. So this is down the road a ways. And, I think one of the pieces of testimony that I heard just said, this is like many bills that pass at the legislature will be worked on in other sessions. But for now, the bill has passed the House and the Senate, and it has been sent to the governor's desk. So that's where we are.
One of the reasons I think they've tackled this in such an aggressive way early on and looking for funding is because when you have a stadium funding mechanism in place, this plays very well to Major League Baseball when you're trying to lure a team. Say, not only do we have a spot picked out, it's going to be beautiful, we actually have a way to fund it. That is a game changer, and that is a difference maker. Having removed that funding element of it, essentially, is a big change.
Yeah, it is a big change, but I think, again, you're going to have, you've got the public-private partnership kind of thing, right? You've got some big owners who are saying, we want to make sure that this happens and we're fully invested. You have city money, you've got county money, you've got people who are supportive from the west side who are saying this is something that we want. So there's still funding. It's just that they stripped out one of the big pieces of the funding.
And we don't know if that'll get them to the $1 billion, which is what they said they needed originally to kind of pledge in taxpayer money. When I spoke to Representative Ryan Wilcox earlier in the show, we talked about how the sales tax from that Fair Park area would then be allocated to help pay for the ballpark. So it's that for that specific area. Let me play a little 30 seconds from that conversation, Holly.
This is literally just in the district. In other words, an area that is not producing any sales tax right now. It's an industrial zone right now that will be used to hopefully it will generate enough sales tax for us to do this. But that's the plan, is that we'll invest in that area, meaning the partner will, the private investor will, and then the revenue that we pick up from the sales that are generated in an area that is currently not generating revenue, that's what we'll use to fund the project.
So it seems a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah, but again, I would say it's probably not that unexpected with the legislative process, right? So they will come back and revisit it, and it will happen year after year. But we're coming to the end of this session, so they had to get it through, and they did.
And there are still likely several years. We think that Major League Baseball will probably make some sort of an expansion announcement. The commissioner said this probably around 2030. So we've
got time for sure. Yeah.
Holly Richardson writes for the Deseret News, follows the legislature, is the editor of Utah Policy. Let's pivot to the Delta Center or the NBA arena / NHL arena. Sure. Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz, putting out a tweet yesterday that Dave and I caught while we were live on the air, showing a beautiful rendering of a brand new downtown area. And that looks phenomenal, as long as it's not where I'm sitting and Dave and you are sitting right now.
They may take this building. Who knows?
And they need another $1 billion for that. I don't think taxpayers across the state have as much heartburn with it because that $1 billion would be raised with the sales tax increase in Salt Lake City specifically.
Yeah. So that bill, I listened to the presentation on the Senate floor. It was last night. And Dan McKay is a big NHL fan, has been for a long time. So he's the sponsor of this bill also. And one of the points that he made is this is not a stadium bill. This is a build a city bill. And he wants to emphasize that this is for the city of Salt Lake, the crown jewel of Utah. This is not about sports. That's secondary. The primary focus is building Utah, Utah's capital city.
We'll see where they spend that $1 billion and how much of it ends up in a stadium, and then you can tell me, this isn't a stadium bill.
Well, maybe, right? But anyway, that bill passed out of the Senate and is over on the House side, and it's currently in the House Rules Committee, just waiting to go on the board and be discussed.
Okay, so it's just sitting.
Yeah.
Right now, waiting to get out of committee. It'll get out of committee. It
It's
sounds
not.
like they're pretty
Yeah,
dead
I mean,
set
the
on
Rules
doing
Committee
this.
is where they send the bills out in order of priority.
right.
But yeah.
Was there any reference at all to this possibly being included with a jazz redesign, or would this be a hybrid kind of arena? Was there any reference to that in the bill?
I didn't read that in the bill. I didn't hear that in the discussion either. But I mean, there's anything is possible.
Yeah, we don't know if this billion would be allocated toward like a hockey rink that gets a basketball court slapped over it, and then it gets removed so they can hold a.
I think again the devil's in the details. We don't know for sure, but I do know that there's definitely interest. But to your point, also with MLB, that the decision for even bringing possibly NHL here is years away.
So again, we're in this spot where we don't have the team secured, and maybe this is how business gets done, Dave. Wow. This is your arena. You've been, you've had your head in the sports world forever. That's how business gets done.
Yeah, they try to answer a lot of the questions beforehand. You have to. You can't go into some sort of a bid for a team without having some ducks lined up. You got to have them in a row.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is happening right now. What it speaks to me is we're probably farther along in the process than we realize. There's a little bit of an urgency that is happening, I think, because of the conversations that are going on behind
Do you feel that, Holly?
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. I think there is, I think we are further along. I think there are things that the public doesn't know. I'm not privy either, but one of the things that Representative Wilcox pointed out yesterday is that the name of a potential team will have the word Utah in it and not just Salt Lake City. So I don't know if that is a teaser or not, but it sure seems to be.
Well, that became the debate in the Olympics, too.
Sure.
Back in the 90s when we were bidding on the Olympics, would they be the Utah Olympics? Well, it ended up being SLOC, the Salt Lake Olympic Committee.
Right,
so the writing is on the wall. Remember SLOC? The Salt Lake Olympic Committee, and it was the Salt Lake Winter Olympics, and that's how we remember it. That's how we hosted it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Being held in Morgan.
Yeah, but even with the Olympics, I mean, we had to prepare ahead of time, to your point, Dave, right?
Yeah,
we had to prepare ahead of time.
Yep.
Same thing with 2034 Olympics, saying, look, we do have the venues. We're going to make sure that they're, kept up, but we also have new venues, whatever it is that we need to be able to get the IOC to say, yeah, you're the preferred city.
Holly, thank you. You've been invaluable.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Editor at Utah Policy, Holly Richardson, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. We're going to take live phone calls straight ahead because I'm wondering if our listeners feel like their vision of downtown Salt Lake City with a brand new hockey and a brand new NBA arena with a bunch of restaurants and maybe some new hotels and condominiums and a lot of glass buildings everywhere. That's Ryan Smith's vision if you look at that graphic, right? I'm remembering that right,
Yep,
Dave?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With fireworks in the background. Just so you know. I mean, there's going to be fireworks.
Well, we had there it is. We put it on our live stream. So if you're streaming us right now on our app, you can see that tweet from Jazz owner Ryan Smith and the photo that I have been staring at for 2 days. Is that your vision too? 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. Looking forward to your live phone calls next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to save 40 to 80% on a hot tub and swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, noon to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
Okay, that's good. Whoa, Dave!
Sorry, I'll go grab some paper towels. You can't let Dave pour things. He works at JCW's. They fill stuff up past the brim over there, like their milkshakes. They're thick, rich, and oh my gosh.
Delicious?
Oh no. Dave's filling up Crystal's car for her.
Dave, stop!
Hey, this is Clark for JCW. Stop into any of our 5 locations today. We're located in American Fork, Thanksgiving Point, Provo, South Jordan, and our new location in Harriman. Come in and see why at JCW's we believe in quality and a lot of it.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Good morning. I'm the 40% off window company.
40% off? Of what?
Hey, 40% off!
Yeah, I'll bet it's your biggest sale of the year. This week only, because you need a model home in our neighborhood. Well, nothing. It's baloney. Hi, this is Kathy.
And Doug of Window World. When you hear those things, you know you've entered the baloney zone.
Resist the force of the baloney zone.
Find Window World online at windowworldutah.com.
Or call Window World at 281-8111. That's 281-8111.
And that's no baloney.
I'm Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm recording from the Tucson sector of our southern border, and nobody's here. Our government should defend our territory, but President Biden, Mitch McConnell, and career politicians are funding war in other countries while the cartels are waging unchecked war here on American soil. I'm standing up to build the wall, end catch and release, and secure the border. Stand with me. I'm Jason Walton, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. According to the 13th annual AFLAC Workforces Report, 57% of American workers say they are currently experiencing moderate levels of burnout. Human Work Project is working to address that. Founder Charlie Warner joins us with more.
Our mission at Human Work is to humanize the nature of work. We believe that work is a natural and essential part of our humanity, but that our current culture of work no longer supports our prosperity. Due to this, we are seeing large-scale burnout and career misalignment. Our job at Human Work Project is to fix that. We do so by supporting people in realigning and recalibrating their relationship with work through professional development programs, mentoring, and community support. This includes through our new Groundwork program, a 12-week intensive program designed to help you align to work that works for you. We also host regular events and workshops for leaders, individuals, and organizations interested in exploring human work alignment. For more information, visit our website, humanworkproject.com.
Human Work Project is on a mission to explore, guide, and cultivate a humanized work experience for individuals through professional development, mentorship, and support. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Nikki Haley is in Utah today for a rally ahead of the Super Tuesday caucuses and primaries. Second, Mitch McConnell stepping aside as the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate. Third, the Utah legislature making changes in the plan to finance a Major League Baseball stadium. Right now, 38 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Is your vision for a brand new downtown that will host an NBA team and an NHL team and look kind of like the Vegas Strip. Does it mirror what Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz's vision is? We've posted the photo that he posted on Twitter, aka X, yesterday. During our show, we caught this and we started talking about it. Dave, do the play-by-play if you don't mind. We posted it, by the way, on our News Radio app, KSL News Radio app. You can also go online and look at it at kslnewsradio.com right now.
Number one, it's a big, beautiful new stadium that is not the Delta Center. That is the headliner right there. I mean, you've got a totally new stadium. And in his tweet, he says it's about revitalizing downtown with NBA and NHL at its center. So I don't know if that stadium is a hybrid Jazz, NHL stadium that you could use for both. Let me say right now, I've talked to some big hockey guys, and they say basketball arenas don't work well for hockey arenas. Just the way it's designed, it makes it a bad view.
The view, okay.
So they've moved away from these multi-purpose arenas.
That's not good news for taxpayers.
Yeah, so best case scenario, as far as fan experience, would be a basketball arena just for the Jazz and then a separate NHL arena for the hockey team.
Do you envision this, Dave, being like the same number of seats?
The hockey arena is going to be smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, just because the puck is so small, it's hard to track. You can't have somebody up in the rafters, 953 feet above.
Like when I go to the Jazz game and get the cheap seats?
Yeah.
Because I can see the basketball sort of.
Right.
But with the hockey puck, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I've been
there's
to
no
enough hockey games to know that. Because even from the box, like if you're in the few times I've been in the boxes, what are those called? I don't even know.
The luxury boxes.
The luxury box. It always feels so luxury. The popcorn was luxurious. It's hard to see from up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Boo-hoo me.
And that's in the middle of the arena.
That is. Yeah, you're right. Holly from Sandy, is your vision of a new downtown Salt Lake City, one of NBA basketball and NHL hockey at the center of it with lots of new restaurants and shiny buildings surrounding it?
Absolutely not. Sorry. I have no doubt that the Delta Center needs some updating, and, that the team and everybody else would love to see that and maybe a new arena. But $1 billion, I'm sorry, but we have other things that need more focus than bringing something that in. And even if it's true that, okay, it's suddenly on the fast track, which I did find rather unusual and kind of weird to have it come up so late in the game in the legislative session this year. We've got homeless people who need attention, who are a lot of whom are veterans and families who can't afford to live here, teenagers who are in similar situation, who either don't want to be in foster care or have aged out of the system. But, everybody's just willing to jump up and throw $1 billion at a possibility for a new stadium that may or may not happen for a hockey team that, it doesn't exist yet. I can understand, wanting to revamp the Delta Center, even potentially, build a new, tear it down and build a new stadium kind of thing with the new advances. But I have a real problem with my taxpayer money going to pay for something like this. I've been to the Delta Center once and I've lived here my entire life. And that was to go to the Josh Groban concert. I don't have a problem with people loving sports. My whole family's that way. They love sports. But I'd rather see my taxpayer dollars go to something that's really going to help everybody, not just, turn us into Las Vegas North, which is what that.
That's great. Holly, I love everything you said there. Thank you so much for spilling your heart out here about how you feel about it. Let's get to David, and also in Sandy. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hi. How do you feel about Las Vegas North in Salt Lake City?
Well, I agree with Holly. I think that, but mine is more of California North. With as many people as been moving into Utah from California. If enough people love Major League Baseball and all the rest of the things, the Olympics that comes here, the skiing, all the national parks, it's getting to the point where it's hard. I live right at the base of Little Cottonwood Canyon, and you can't get up to the ski resort without preparing 5 hours in advance.
Yep.
And I have a daughter in Sand Hollow that lives 5 minutes from the launching ramp and can't get on the lake unless she. And it's just going to bring. I love sports, but you know what? I just don't like the congestion.
Wow, two great opinions from our listeners in the Sandy City area. David, hear you loud and clear. I was talking about this yesterday. My daughter waited hours. She was a ski instructor for a couple of years up at Snowbird. Went up there to ski a couple of weeks ago, Dave, and during the weekday, she had to go home and then come back. It's so congested with traffic.
I think what's being lost in this conversation is if you drive down North Temple, down to the proposed ballpark site, it has been a disaster for decades. It is, no one is investing in it. It is run down buildings. There's crime. It's a rough part of town. Somebody is going to invest $3.5 billion to renovate this area, but it has to have a baseball stadium in it. So you can say no all you want. You can say, no, not in my town. You have to be practical when it comes to the developers. You've got to give them a reason to invest in that area, and they're telling you it's a baseball stadium. So you can say no to the $1 billion. They were going to put in $3.5 billion to renovate that area.
Thanks for that take, Dave, and that perspective. Also, thank you today for your coverage of the Nikki Haley editorial board meeting today. I know that was a lot of work for you. You were running around Broadcast House, and you did a great job bringing us that story.
KSL-FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is in Orem right now, about to kick off her rally. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live at Utah Valley University.